Hello and welcome to this round of the Pro League Chess Cup, and it's getting incredibly exciting. We're already into the knockout stages and the teams are only a couple of rounds away from getting into the prizes, where there's a lot of money at stake. And it's an honour for me to be commentated again, and it's an even bigger honour to be commentating with my co-host. Let's make sure oh no, that way. Fiona. So how are you doing, Fiona?
Hello, Simon. I'm very good. I'm also really looking forward to today. It's been a very exciting league on the whole, but today is going to be massive. Just to give you an idea, so today is the round of the last 16, and we have 5 of the 6 best players in the world playing, and a total of 49 GMs, so absolutely massive.
It's crazy. Yeah, like you said, 5 of the 6 best players in the world, and it just shows you what interest this competition already has built up. And we've got some very exciting matches. I mean, it's an honour that we're actually covering Magnus Carlsen, who's playing again. You know, the matches are due to start in about 10 minutes, so we'll go over them to them soon. But let's have a look at the pair-up, shall we, Fiona?
Absolutely. And as you can see, so Magnus Carlsen, and I think his team really needed him. Do you remember how the Norway Gnomes struggled at the start of the league? There was a time I thought they wouldn't make it they wouldn't make it to the playoffs. But since Magnus has started playing, things have gone a lot better for them. And last week, Magnus scored 4-0, so he won his 4 games. And it was just enough as they beat another Indian team, the Mumbai Movers, 9-7.
That's right. I mean, Magnus has been, well, he's the world champion, so he's a good player. But, I mean, he's been so important for the Norway Gnomes in their results. And you know, I think they've got a really tough match. I know they've already played Delhi Dynamite in the group stages, and they managed to beat them actually quite comfortably. But there's some interesting things going on today. We're covering 2 matches, just so you know, in the Eastern Division in this knockout. So this match above is the first match. You can see the players there. But there's a very interesting substitution coming in for Delhi Dynamites after 1 round, and I'm just going to bring up a picture of the player that the Delhi Dynamites are bringing in, and you may have heard of him. He's an incredibly strong player, Salem, and he is very, very good at the quicker time limits. Now, I know this, I've seen him in action, and he's a very good substitution, I think, for the Delhi Dynamites. Don't you think, Fiona? I think he's going to be really important for the team.
I agree, and he's making his Pro Chess League debut, so it will be very interesting. And he will be playing the last 3 games, so he will substitute Grandmaster Lalit Babu, who will be playing the first round for the Delhi Dynamite. And I guess all of you will also have heard of Babit Lalu, because Lalit Babu, sorry, I'm struggling with speaking today, because he was on the, well, shall we say, receiving end of Hu Yifan's protest in Gibraltar.
Yeah, indeed, and we won't talk too much about that, because we could be talking about that all of the Pro League, but we've got more interesting things to talk about today, chess-wise. So that's going to be a great match, and obviously I think that starts first. So we'll be.
What's your prediction? We haven't really done any predictions. What's your predictions for your prediction?
I think Norway Gnomes will take this one. I think it's going to be very tough. I don't think Norway Gnomes have as strong a team as they did last week when they had Hammer and Agenstein playing. I don't think it's quite strong. I think it's going to be an incredibly close match. Magnus needs to score very highly. Aryan Tari is an incredibly strong player, but I think it's going to be a very close match, Fiona. I think this guy Salem, who Delhi Dynamite are bringing in, is going to be a great addition to their team. So what do you think?
I have to say, I'm really looking forward to Salem's game. I know him a little. Not only is he a very nice guy, but he's a very exciting chess player, and he was a pupil of good friend of ours for a long time, Ivan Sokolov, who of course plays very interesting chess himself. So they had a very fruitful collaboration, I would say, and Salem has really made a lot of progress lately. He's still a very young player, only in his early 20s. So looking forward to seeing how he's doing. And the one thing we need to mention, which is important for this match, is same as last week, the team which is first named, so Delhi Dynamite in this case. In case of a tie, 8-8, Delhi Dynamite go through. So that might be a big advantage, of course, having draw odds.
That's correct, yeah. And if we look at the other match we're covering, these two teams haven't been in the limelight as much. And that is the people who got advanced to... They didn't play the last round of Budapest Gambits, which is the same as the Delhi Dynamites, because these two teams finished in the top 2 in the league in an automatic qualification. But Budapest Gambits came second in the league, and maybe they haven't got so many big names, but the board one there, Benjamin, is only 17 years old. And he's a very talented player. We should mention the Gorky Stormbringers because they've really been, haven't they, Fiona, one of the surprise packages in this competition.
I think for me, they have been the biggest surprise, at least from our group. I'm not so familiar with the ongoings of the other groups, but I have to say I didn't know a single one of their players before we started commentating on the Pro Chess League. And they have played... Last week, they got through against Riga, which was a very strong team, the Riga Magicians, with Igor Kovalenko, with Artur Nexens. And they managed to get past Riga, although they were playing without their star player, Evgeny Shabak. Help me out here, Simon. You
want me to help you out with pronunciations? You know what, Fiona? No chance. No chance.
Evgeny Shaboshnikov, they were playing without him last week, and he seems to once again not be able for a reason or another to play tonight. But that hasn't stopped him from making it through to the round of the last 16. And I think especially their last two players, Mikhail Gorozhanin and Anton Yatsenko, have done exceptionally well. So although they are lower weighted by 100 points on average, which is quite a big handicap, I wouldn't write them off.
Yeah, certainly. I even struggle to pronounce my own name, Fiona. So you don't ask me to pronounce anyone else's, please. That is just like one of the worst situations you put me in. What's my name? Simon Williams. Simon. Yes.
I know you can pronounce your own name because it's not very difficult, but I know you really struggle with mine.
Fiona. I can say Fiona. Fiona, I can say that. Fiona, I mean, how long have I known you, Fiona? I can say Fiona. There we go. I can say that. There we go.
Okay. I let you off for now. I was watching you stream Title Tuesday last night, of course. Yeah. And I already gave you a bit of a telling of them, so I'll save it now.
You've been telling me off a lot, and I'm sure throughout the course of our commentary today, I'll probably get the odd telling off again. But I like it when Fiona tells me off, kind of. It's like being back at school again. Now, the games are going to start any minute now. So before we do that, I just want to show very quickly a couple of things that people at home might want to know. And first of all, I'm sorry about the maybe not particularly good quality of this so-called brackets. Now, this is the standings, and okay, it's not their logos there, and if you go to the Chess.com, the homepage, you'll be able to see this in more detail, and I recommend to look at the teams in contention. You have a look there, but we're dealing with the Eastern Division, which is the top left-hand side. Now, what we should mention, the winner of today's games, they're going in very near to the final, as you can see. I think it's the quarter-final, isn't it, by the looks of it, after this. And the winner of both in the groups, there's only going to be 2 teams left. They have to play against each other, so there's only 1 team left. And then they're going to play the winner of the Central European Division. And if I bring up the world map, you'll see what I'll be able to, what we're talking about here. Me and Fiona are dealing with all the teams in orange, and there's only going to be one, as the Highlander said. And
maybe one.
Sorry, Fiona, I missed you there. Can you say that again? Go on.
No, I was just talking to myself. Don't mind me.
Oh, I like it. Can you do a Highlander voice? Can you do a Scottish accent?
I haven't even seen it, so I probably can't.
But can you do a Scottish accent? Oh, come on, let's
No, I'm terrible. I know some people who are good at it, but I think you are doing just fine. I'm not sure.
Okay, but people who are good at it because they're Scottish. That doesn't count. So that doesn't count at all. But anyway, on the world map, we're doing the orange, and the winner of the Orange League plays the winner of the Green League, the Central European League. There can only be one. And there's lots of prizes at stake. Very quickly, we're going to bring them up, and you can see the prizes on the screen there. $20,000 first prize. I want to talk about that a bit later on, because I've heard some interesting rumours going on.
I think we'll have to talk about it later on, because we've just been told by the chat. And once again, people, I will keep an eye on the chat, mostly on chess.com/TV, on Twitch, not so much, but I'll keep an eye on the chat. And we've been told the games have started, so let's go there. And also, I will keep an eye on Twitter, #ProChess. And as every other week, we will also be giving away a 1-month diamond membership to one member of the chat. So do keep your comments coming.
Sure. So we have got a game already, as Fiona's mentioned. And of course, we're going to start with a world champion, aren't we, Fiona? Because I think most people are interested to know what is going to happen with Magnus Carlsen today. He's a world champion, but he's an amazing player, isn't he, Fiona? I mean, brilliant player.
Not a bad player, indeed.
No, not a bad player. And, well, he's got black here. And the way the teams start for the first round, you probably saw it. It's a little bit of a mismatch in a way, because you have the higher rated player in the team playing against the lower rated player. So it's kind of a game where, you know, Magnus should win 99.9% of the time. So, and that goes with the other way around. The lowest rated Norwegian player plays the highest rated player at Delhi Dynamite. So an upset in this round is quite a big thing, I'd say, already, to be honest. But the game started, Fiona. And
just one last thing I wanted to mention, which I didn't get the chance to get in because I was talking too much in our intro, is that in the final round of this matchup between Delhi Dynamite and Norway Gnomes, we'll see the game between Magnus Carlsen and Abhijit Gupta. And last time they played, Abhijit could have won a queen, which he missed. So I think he will be eager to get a revenge. And actually, while we were setting up, I saw that Abhijit Gupta was warming up in the play zone. So we'll keep a close eye on him.
Yeah, definitely. One of the interesting things about this position, Fiona, I had this position as white against Magnus Carlsen. In Gausdal in, I don't know, trying to remember what year it was, 2008 maybe, something like that. I mean, I think he was about 15 or 16. Magnus was 25, about 2600 when I played him, and we had this exact position in the game, which is quite bizarre. And it's the Petrosian system of the Queen's Indian, and this move A3 I used to enjoy playing a lot because it stops Black's main idea of bringing the bishop out here, which you see in these systems a lot, because when the bishop comes to b4, Black tries to pin this knight and he gains more control, therefore, of two important squares, e4 and d5, by pinning the knight on c3. So I think you know, my memory is not as good as it used to be, but I think I've had this position before. And bishop d2 is one of the most dangerous moves here. e3 is a trendy move, and this is what a lot of players are playing. Harry, get in there, son. Oh, sorry. Did that make you jump there, Fiona?
No, I think I'm used to it by now. And by the way, it's funny because there was a tweet before we started the show by someone saying, let me just find it. I bet the bottle of wine will come up in the conversation 2 times, and Simon will say, push the Harry pawn more than 3 times.
Well, that's the first one in the first minute, I think. So I'm doing pretty well. And you know, you probably know that I'm a big fan of Harry the H pawn, and we can see the player of the white pieces, who's quickly becoming one of my favourite players in the competition, is lobbing Harry up the board. He's coming at Magnus, Fiona. I like this. I like this.
Too. And I mean, this is a conversation we've had many a times about how should you get on if you face the world champion. You're 600 points, more than 600 points outrated. And I think you and I always agree that there is no reason to go passive and just wait for Magnus to come for you. Nice. If you get the chance to play against him, you might as well go for it. Try to have some fun along the way and just, get some attacking.
I totally agree. Don't be afraid of your opponents. You're going to lose if you're afraid of who you're playing. I had this yesterday. I got a bit, afraid of some of my opponents and I played bad. Sorry?
Starstruck.
Not starstruck. I never get starstruck. I'm not starstruck by the people I was playing yesterday, that's for sure. But I get a bit afraid of them. Yeah. Anyway, now when you play h4, let me just explain this quickly. I mean, I have a principle of playing h4 when my opponent plays g6, because you want to attack their g6 pawn by playing h5. Now, there's basically three things that black can do. He can play h6, and the idea is to meet h5 with g5, and that's exactly what Magnus has done here. The other move is h5, trying to stop Harry in its tracks. But the position seems to be getting very interesting here, Fiona. It's now looking to me like a Grunfeld opening, for those of you who know what the Grunfeld is. It's kind of developing into that, I'd say. Wouldn't you agree there, Fiona?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think I quite like the way White has dealt with his opening.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I think he's playing okay. I mean, black's very solid here as well, and the idea of the Grunfeld is to attack the centre from the sides, and we can see that this is going to happen here at the moment. I mean, maybe White could play a move like Rook C1 here. This looks quite sensible. By the way, just to let you know, as you can see there, if the board goes lighter, it means we're analysing, which we try to do occasionally. But, I mean, I think it's just a very interesting position, because where do both sides put their king? I think White will want to castle kingside. If I was White here, I'd probably just castle kingside. And now it's quite hard for Black to castle after White's last move, because Magnus has played h6, and there's now a target that White can attack. So if you can imagine if Magnus tries to castle bishop g7, castles, well, then White will just go bishop takes h6. So Harry, the h-pawn, has done quite a good job of nibbling away and creating a slight weakness there, I say, Fiona. It's interesting position. I like White.
Yeah, I have to say I agree. And it's funny how I tend to always get biased when I'm commentating on Magnus' game, because knowing it's Magnus, I would say, of course, Black is fine somehow. But if I didn't know who was playing, I'd think, oh, I would definitely take White here.
I agree. I mean, I don't think Black Magnus' position is that bad at all. I mean, it's not worse. I mean, one plan here which looks quite a tempting one is knight f6, because you've got to think which of the central pawns is the weakest. And as we say, Magnus can't castle. Castling queenside looks far too risky. There's too many open lines. You've got an open B file, and then you can push. Which pawn can you push if Black castles queenside, Fiona?
The A pawn.
Ari.
But I was just thinking, I mean, if the king remains in the center, that can't be good either, because I'll just put my rooks to E1 and D1 and open the center. So yes. I wonder how worried Magnus is about his king just now.
I don't think Magnus ever gets worried. He's the coolest guy in the world, you know. I say that, he probably does. He's got knight f6, so this looked like the right move, because at least now he's asking the question, what are you going to do with this e-pawn? Because if you push the e-pawn, I think Magnus would love to swap off the dark square bishop here, because then he can castle. So his idea is to get rid of this dark square bishop. Now, if I was White here, I'd be thinking of moves like bishop to f4.
I was looking at that too, yeah.
And then I can always just go rook e1. Just keep the tension. There are other interesting moves here, Fiona. A pawn sack like d5. It strikes me as a very interesting pawn sack, because I want to, let's just say I play this, and now Magnus takes on d5. Well, now I have a very strong plan of going rook e1, bishop f4, and creating a big attack. So d5 would be a very brave move. And I really like the way White's playing, but it's getting a little bit critical now. And I have to say, White's playing without fear here, Fiona.
I agree. I think White is going to take his time in this position, because even time-wise, he's been doing well. He's only a minute and a half he's only spent a minute and a half longer than Magnus. So, do you want to quickly check out what's going on in the other games? I was thinking of going to Abhijit Gupta's game, the top-rated player for the Delhi Dynamite, who's playing against Johannes Haug.
Sure, good idea. So I think we will mainly concentrate on Magnus, of course, today. But let's have a quick look at the other positions, because obviously, you know, it's a key match, as Fiona said, and you've got to keep me on track, Fiona, as well. You know what I'm like. I often drift away.
I think that's why they hired me.
to keep me on track, because I often just digress into the world of the unknown. And okay, over to let's just very quickly look at the positions though, and look at the current positions. And this is a game that Gupta on paper really needs to win, Fiona, and because he's playing the lowest rated player of the Norwegian Gnomes. But again, all the Norwegian players are very young, underrated, and this position to me, it doesn't look like White's doing badly at all here, to be honest. I mean, I don't know if White's better, but again, I like White's position. Look at the hold on the c5 square he's got. Lovely piece concreted on that square. And, I mean, Gupta's managed to put a pawn on a4 and try to create some play. But in all honesty, this position, I quite like White here. I quite like White, Fiona. I think White may have some small edge. So this is early days, I think, Fiona, this one.
It's early days, but it's already... I mean, it's hard to see how Black would really win this. But okay, of course, you never know. Abhijit Gupta is the much stronger player, but White's position seems, on top of being good, just seems also very solid. But we shall see. And finally, I would like to quickly have a look at Grandmaster Lalit Babu's game, because this is the only game we are going to see from him today. Because as we mentioned, in case you're just joining us now, starting from round 2 for the 3 remaining games, Grandmaster Lalit Babu will be replaced by Grandmaster Salam Saleh.
Sure. So, okay. So at the moment, things are looking quite earlier on. And now this game here is the game with... the Grandmaster, and it looks like he's playing, actually, I don't know, from the Netherlands at the moment, and but playing, of course, for the Delhi Dynamite. It's his only game, and it is in this position. Let's have a look. It looks to be, whose move is it? I'm just going to catch up. It is White to move, and of course, this is one game that Black is favourite to win on paper, but these Norwegians, these young players, are very, very dangerous, very underrated. And after knight to d7, rook to c7, White's playing very aggressively here. I mean, I do like the way a lot of these, you know, I say kids. They're kids compared to me nowadays.
They're teenagers by now.
Teenagers.
Elderly teenagers.
Elderly teenagers. But I like the way they play. They're playing aggressively. And White's pieces are very active if you look at all of White's pieces. But, you know, in the position, one of the main problems may just be this d5 pawn. If Black can win the d5 pawn, then I think Black's position will remain very solid and very hard to break down, and probably better for Black. I mean, even if White takes on b6 here, Black takes a central pawn. His queen becomes active, and the central pawn is clearly worth more than the pawn on the side. So is there any way that Whites can guard this pawn on d5? I don't know, because if he can't, I think Black's better. Yeah. So
I'm not sure. I can't see it either. I was just having a quick look at the chat where Thomas Wendell has just joined us, and he's saying, "Hi Simon and Fiona. Thought I'd see how the early matches go while I rest up for tonight." And of course, the London Towers have a big matchup coming later on, and they did phenomenally well last week to go through. I mean, after we finished our shift, I was watching Lawrence and Anna take us to the Central Division, and it was incredibly tense and a fantastic achievement. So hi Thomas, and well done, and good luck for later.
Indeed. I mean, just quickly here, I'm just wondering if knight d5 in this position wins material. Did White actually, is this even a blunder? I was only thinking a queen takes, but I don't know what's wrong with this. Maybe it's queen. Well, I don't know. This looks like a strong move. But I do, of course, wish Thomas Rendell and the London Towers the best of luck. I'm a little bit biased because it was my idea to set up the London Towers, and I got pulled into commentating, which I love as well. So, you know, I'm happy to be commentating, but my heart is kind of with the London Towers. So good luck, guys, in your match later on against the Sweden Snowballs. I'm going to be watching that one, and I hope you win. Crush them. Crush them. So I think Black should be doing well here, yeah?
Yeah, I agree. Should we go back to Magnus?
Well, let's have a look at the last game. We might as well now. And let's have a look how...
These players, I'm not sure what happened there, but they started their game maybe 5 minutes after their colleagues. So that explains why they still have 5 minutes more on the clock.
Sure. And this is the last game in the match. I mean, so far... Well, I mean, Magnus is Magnus. It looks like the Gupta's not maybe got the position he wants to, but I think is it Lalif is better. So this game is kind of key. And again, early days here, it's one of these positions where the white centre, which is very dominating, it's either very strong or it becomes a target. And what I mean by that is a typical plan here for black would be something like bishop f5 to e4. And the reason for doing this maneuver is to try to swap off the knight here, and then you can start pressurizing the base of the pawn structure. This is a good tip for anyone at home. When you have a pawn structure, and this is like a pawn chain, you could try to target the base, which is d4. But instead, you know, Tarry's gone for a slightly more passive move here, bishop d7. I mean, I quite like white here, but I like having space in my game, so I pick white here, Fiona. But okay, it's a long way to go, so we can go back to Magnus now if you'd like to.
Let's go back to Magnus. I'm on that game already, and let's have a look what's been happening, because a lot has been happening.
Sure. So we're catch up, and it was very interesting. We had knight f6. White went for bishop f4, attacking the queen. d5 was the other very interesting option. Queen e7, and white did just keep the tension. Looks like a very sensible way to play. And now knight g4. This is clever because Magnus is guarding the pawn so that he might be able to castle. But now white stops him from castling with a nasty little check. And after king f8, well, the next move is also very dangerous. What's happening here? Because after taking on c5, there's a major threat of winning Magnus's queen. Wow. Magnus has to go e5 to stop the bishop coming in. And now some tactics, c6 being played. White playing incredibly well in this game.
You know, I was just looking up the white player because I didn't really know him, and someone in the chat said it was a young girl, so I decided to check whether that was true. That's not true. He's a young boy. He was only born in 2000, so he's 16 years old. His standard rating is 23-15, so an impressive game so far by Aradhya Garg.
Certainly, and the games continue. Well, Magnus is sort of, you know, playing on the skin of his teeth, but he's finding the best moves because he's Magnus by the looks of it. And he has to take this because he's taking on f4. And the point behind his combination is this move gains the tempo against the white queen. So white blocks the rook, and now Magnus gets his pawn back. But white goes a pawn up by capturing on this move. And he attacks the knight. The knight has to move. And
yeah, because someone in the chat was asking why didn't he take on c3 here? But the reason is, of course, white just takes the knight, and then he has two minor pieces for the rook, which is
winning position.
Disadvantage. Yep.
So you have to move the knight, and now rook to d1. So white's got all of his pieces in great squares. White's a pawn up. Magnus is playing without a rook on h8. Bishop f6, so he's trying to get his king out. And now knight d4. Wow, the piece is looking good. King g7, g3. And at the moment, Fiona, it looks like Magnus is playing white here.
Yeah, I mean, white is a pawn up, it has to be said, of course. And I like his position. I mean, look at that. Okay, he's not a pawn up anymore because the a3 pawn just dropped. But I think still white is doing okay here.
I would have thought so, yeah. I mean, you know, I wouldn't have liked to lose that pawn. I have to admit, in the quick time, I didn't see that one. But, you know, this bishop on d5 is a fantastic piece. But, on the other hand, the knight on e5 is fantastic. I mean, if I was white here, if I could play f4 and e5 at some point, then keep my bishop here, I'd be very happy. But I think this is getting to a very critical stage of the game, because if white doesn't keep the pressure up here, he could slowly, it could go very badly for him here. So I don't know. Queen takes a3. What should white play? I kind of feel white should play something aggressive. But what move is it? Is it h5? Why not? Why don't we use Harry? Come on, let's use Harry. This is what I'd play.
And he's just played it.
Oh, good man. Harry. So he's moved Harry, and Magnus very calmly is grabbing a pawn. But now his king is becoming a little bit weak, Magnus. So this is a very exciting game, certainly.
I think now, yeah, he had to take with the knight, because after pawn takes, there was a pawn on e6.
Yeah. But now, with the knight coming to f5, white should have fantastic compensation for a mere pawn. It's funny that white's gone from a pawn up to a pawn down.
But we like his position. I mean, I was watching your stream last night, of course, in which I learned that pawns are not really worth much. So I really like white here.
Yeah, I mean, pawns are not worth much when I'm playing, but they probably are in the real world of chess. I kind of play my games in the surreal chess parallel universe world. And it's funny. Do you think, Fiona, that the player of the white pieces is listening to the commentary and he heard me shout Harry and he's going, "Come on, let's get Harry in the game. Go, Harry, go." I don't think so, of course not.
I would say it's unlikely.
Now, this is a very...
But do you play knight f5 immediately? Do you move the queen? I think you need to... Well, you need to give a check because the knight is hanging, of course. So you need to
I don't think it is hanging because I've got queen takes f7 checkmate if you take the knight. I mean, but at this position, it could be winning for white. I mean, I say that. There's ideas of rook e3, rook f3, you know, and white's pieces are all attacking.
So you would go to f5?
I don't know. I'm thinking if I play knight to f5 check here...
I meant queen, because if you move the queen... Yeah. That's what I was going to say. If you move the queen and you move it to somewhere that's not on the f file, then the knight is hanging.
Yeah, sure.
And you can't go to f3, so you have to go to f5.
You have to do this, yeah. And okay, well, Magnus has a bit of defending to do. It has a bit of defending to do. I don't know. I don't know, Fiona. I'm not sure.
I'm wondering if in this position I'm even threatening to take on f7, maybe, followed by queen e6.
And then knight f5. Yeah, that looks dangerous as well. There might well be a threat if bishop takes f7. That's incredibly dangerous. And I think the major threat is trying to get this rook around another piece into the attack. It follows the principle that bishop takes f7 as well. Yeah, I don't know, Fiona. Bishop takes f7 is very dangerous. Is there an e5 as well? I'm just thinking e5 might be winning on the spot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why Magnus has played rook e8 to stop e5.
Stopping both those ideas.
Yeah. And actually now, if he can get his rook to e5, that may well just plug all the holes. That may just plug all the holes.
What if I play rook e3?
Okay, so rook e3. And, well, the queen probably has to... I mean, sacking the queen doesn't work, so I've still got this f7. So I have to move the queen. I don't know where. Let's say I move it to c7. And now rook to f3 here, for example. Threatening to take on f6, and black now is still under a lot of pressure here. Yeah, he's under a lot of pressure actually. Good idea, Fiona, this one. I mean, if you have to, where do you move your queen? Because if you go queen e7, I've got knight c6, and I've got knight c6 in a lot of positions. So this is still very dangerous for Magnus. I mean, he's gone knight c6 immediately, Fiona, which also looks like a very good move in this position.
I have to say, the only thing I'm concerned about here is white's time, which is running quite low now, especially when you're playing Magnus Carlsen. But I think so far he's still doing a good job.
He's played exceptionally well up to this moment, and with his last move, he may even be getting ready to play e5 in some situations. Let's say the queen goes to some square like a3, which is a bad square because it doesn't control any central squares. Maybe now I can play e5. This is just to demonstrate how strong white's attack could be. And the point of this move is to try to blast through to the f7 square. For example, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and surely white is easily winning here. Rook takes, well, it is clearly winning because he's winning a piece. So e5 is just good. So Magnus has to be quite careful. So I expect...
Simon, just interrupting for half a second to say, if you look below us, you can see that the Delhi Dynamite have gone 1-0 up, and that's thanks to Lalith Babu, who has won his only game he's going to play tonight.
Yeah. I think I do think this is going to be a very tough match for Norway Gnomes. Yeah. I mean, I said they're probably going to win, but I think it's going to be incredibly close. And I also said Magnus needs to perform his normal brilliant self to do that. And I don't know. I mean, after something here, I mean, this looks so dangerous, this position. I think we should stick with this one. But
I agree. I can tell you that the game between Johannes Haug and Abhijit Gupta, it looks impossible Abhijit Gupta will win it. It's a queen ending with 5 pawns against 5. So that will most likely be a draw, which is a good result for Johannes Haug. And that Magnus game, incredibly interesting and tense.
Yeah. And, okay, so knight c6 has been played, and now Magnus has to think where he's going to move his rook, of course. I was just demonstrating if the queen moved, you allow this e5 move in some lines. But where do you move the rook? I mean, do I go... Well, if I go rook d6, I'm asking for it. If I go rook c8, there's still surely a lot of danger here. I mean, I'm wondering if e5 nearly works here, but it doesn't quite work e5. Let's just calculate that. So e5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5. And the thing here is that black can keep his bishop on f6. So rook takes e5. And now after rook takes e5, he keeps his bishop here, so he keeps the queen out of f7. So that's probably just about okay if he goes rook c8 after knight c6. But
and Simon, I always think even, okay, Magnus has just played now, but I think even if you don't understand anything about chess at all, I always think if Magnus spends 3 minutes on a move,
yeah,
it means things are far from clear.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. That's a very long thing. He's probably, I mean, if you gave Magnus this position as white, you know, I think naturally he'd you know, probably crush any opponent in the world, because I still like white's position. I don't know what the you know, assessment is. I mean, this e5 move, he's gone e5. So is this working? What have I missed here? Is there some tactic? Oh, is there? Okay, can he go rook? What have I missed here? So e5. You've got to go knight takes e5. This is the only option I'd say, unless you give up the exchange. Is there some tactic here?
What are we missing?
Oh, rook takes e5. This is the tactic, isn't it, maybe? And the point is, if you take with the rook, I take on c8. Maybe even after a check, and I go...
Some people in the chat says e5 is winning here. I'm not sure what's winning.
It looks to be winning. If you can't take on e5, well, knight takes, rook takes e5, a move I didn't consider, because you can't take with a rook on e5. If you take with a bishop, then queen takes f7 check, and king has to go to h8, and this looks like carnage, doesn't it? With knight to e7 or something. Maybe this is holding on, but it looks very, very scary. People are saying that apparently this position is winning for. So what's the line here? Well, I mean, here I can go knight to e7, threatening checkmate, knight to g6 checkmate, and the rook. But I expect black has to take on e7, queen takes e7, and this position doesn't look so clear to me. I mean, black is a pawn up. White's still got the attack. It's still very dangerous for Magnus, but I think winning is a bit over the top here. Let me know if Magnus plays a move, by the way, Fiona, because I'm just analyse some lines.
Yeah, he has. Everything has happened. We're down.
This has happened in the game, so we got this position in the game, and now bishop e4. Wow, threatening checkmate here, and queen to g6. This is probably winning. It is. Black's king is too weak. Yeah, he's got 23 seconds. This will be the biggest upset. I mean, he has at least a draw now with bishop. Okay, there is no point to go for a draw. Wow, he's gonna beat Magnus. The world #1 is going down to a 22-31. The last time that happened, he was still in nappies, Fiona. Yeah. So this is just unbelievable. It's completely winning. I mean, you know, there's 3 pieces attacking the lone black king. What's happened here, Fiona? This has been a tremendous game. I have to say I'm a bit lost for words, because white has really played an amazing game. And of course, I mean, just incredible. And what a result for this match. Let's remind you, Norway, I mean, Delhi Dynamite have draws, so 8-8 will be enough for them to go through. They're 1-0 up. And I mean, their lowest rated player beating Magnus in round 1 is absolutely incredible. He'll just have to be careful because he has only 20 seconds. But it looks like there's no defense here, really. There shouldn't be a defense, but let's remember, as you say, he's got 14 seconds. His time's ticking down. And I think he can win a queen with something like check and bishop to d5. But he's chosen to win the rook. He's winning the rook. And, of course, this is winning. But, you know, it's not... Against Magnus, you start to have second thoughts. And we've got to stick with this one. He's got 10 seconds left, Fiona. Only 10 seconds. So, I don't know. I mean, this is... Do you think it'll be enough to win? He should win this one quite easily. I mean, there's no danger here to his king. He can just put his king on g2, and then he starts mopping up pawns. Remember, we're playing with an increment, so he's getting extra time every move. I mean, Magnus is in incredibly tricky though. So I wouldn't, you know, he's a piece up. He's a piece up. It should be winning, but let's not count it out yet. And Magnus's A pawn's coming very quickly up the board. So I don't know.
Just to let you know, the game between Johannes Haug and Abhijit Gupta was a draw. And then once Magnus is over, but let's stick with this one. I mean, I would be nervous if I was white.
Of course.
The pawn is now on A3.
Yeah. Certainly a good. I think it's right to be nervous here. I mean, you know, you've got 5 seconds left.
I would play King G2 what's he doing? 1 second. Oh.
Well, he's got to move. He's got to move. Has he lost on time? Has he lost on time? He's lost. What? What's going on there, Fiona? I find that really peculiar. He had about 10 seconds. He just had to play a move. What happened there? What is going on? This is the weirdest first round I've ever seen, Fiona.
Wow.
I mean,
I have no idea what's going on.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
I find that really strange, because according to the clock I have, Fiona, after Queen C5, he had about 7 seconds. He knows he's short time. I mean, he could have had a drop of internet. He could have forgotten about his move. But as you said, Fiona, if he just plays King G2 very quickly, you know, of course, this position is winning. I mean, maybe even more accurate way of playing is something like Bishop E2. Put my bishop on C4, then I've got total control of this diagonal. I just push. But of course it's winning. You're a piece up. And somehow White just lost on time. I find that unbelievable. Really, really weird game, that one, Fiona, wasn't it? You know? So, I mean, brilliantly played, but weird.
Not sure what happened there, but Magnus equalizing thanks to this win on time. And
we had a quick question. Sorry, Fiona. Very quick question that Greg and someone else in the chat was asking, and I also was thinking this. After E5 was played earlier on, Magnus went for knight takes E5, and we saw he got a lost position. Now, I was also wondering here, should Magnus have maybe given up the exchange here? Can he give up the exchange here? Rook takes E5. The point being, I'm threatening to take on E1, and if you take now, knight takes E5, and this position to me still better for White, but it might put up a lot more resistance. So I don't know, but what an amazing game there. Yeah,
absolutely. So let's go to the last remaining game, and that is Sahaj Grover against Aryan Tari. A double knight against a double bishop ending where black is a pawn up, so looking very good for black here.
Sure. Yeah, this is looking very good for black, and if we look at the scores, it's 1.5 all. So you know, a victory for Tari here, and it looks like he should win, will put the Norways into the lead. But that Magnus game could be, well, it's certainly key for the first round. I mean, really weird game. I mean, White played fantastically well.
Yes.
He played so well against Magnus. That's what you got to do against Magnus. No fear. Go for his king. Try to take him down. And okay, so whose move is it here? They both got about 3 minutes left, Fiona. It is black to move here, Fiona.
It is black to move. As I said, should be winning, or should be, well, I mean, black is a pawn up. The question is, can he win it somehow? But especially with the bishop pair, you have a feeling there should be a way through somehow.
It should be. I mean, it's not easy, because White has this fantastic knight on d4. And the knight on d4 does a great job of stopping the black king in and controlling some squares. That's a very clever maneuver from Aryan, because he's going to bring the bishop in, and he's going to start nibbling probably this pawn on h2. And the issue is pawn on h3. If the pawn on h3 has to move, then you leave the g4 square open, and the black king can probably start making progress. So I expect this position is winning, but there's a bit of work to do here.
A lot of work to do. And meanwhile, we will stick with this one, I think, especially because the round is tied, and then we will go over to the Budapest Gambit playing against the Gorky Stormbringers.
Yeah, certainly. So that was a big. I mean, that was a massive game. Though. Losing on time, though, Fiona. Losing on time. I mean, it's crazy, you know, that one from the guy. Yeah. I'm still a bit in shock there.
I have to say, I feel really sorry for the young player with the white pieces. We're not sure what happened to him. Did he forget about time? Did he have connection issues? Was he lagging? But to play such a brilliant game against Magnus and to lose on time in a completely winning position, a piece is heartbreaking.
Of course, yeah. So that was a lot of drama there. Okay, and back to this game. White is certainly struggling. That's a very clever move again from Black there. He's preempting White's idea of b4, which would start to close the bishops down. And by playing a4 himself, he stops that possibility because you can always capture on pass-on. And the winning plan here, I'd assume, like we said, is to try to quickly bring the bishop in. I mean, one thing you often do when you're playing against the knights is you try to take their squares away, you know, with pawn moves, with bishop moves, until they can't move. You restrict them. So that's something you should be looking to do in these types of positions. And, okay, White only has a minute and a half left, so I think Black will get there in the end of this game. I'll be very interested to see how this young Indian kid plays in future rounds, Fiona. It's going to be very interesting.
I hope he can recover because... I mean, it's as I said, it's heartbreaking enough to lose that position against anyone, but to lose it against Magnus, I mean, I know if this was me, I'd be in tears.
Yeah.
So I just hope, I hope he can recover.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lifetime opportunity, isn't it? If you beat Magnus when he's world champion, you've kind of like, that's something for the bucket list. You can tick that off and say, I beat Magnus. Get in there. I'm a Magnus beater.
You know, already last week, I happened to be Facebook friends with a lot of the players on the team from the Mumbai Movers last week when they faced Norway. And all of them were posting saying they were so happy to get the chance to play against Magnus. So I think playing against Magnus in the first place is something amazing, just to get the chance. But to get a winning position against Magnus, and not just because he blundered, but play with the right pieces, played amazingly well, and then lose on time, really, really sad.
Yeah, totally agree there. Certainly. I mean, back to this game, we can see Black has made a lot of progress because he's made an inroads for his king, and there's a couple of problems White has. First of all, the king coming to pressurise the g-pawn, and if you win that, it's game over. Black may also get b4 in at some stage when he's going to rely on eventually getting past a-pawn. And of course, there's another issue of White getting in a sort of position of zugzwang, which means he's going to run out of moves because his knight is pinned here. You know, his knight here might be able to go to h2, but then you leave your brother on d4 weak. So I think this should be winning for Black, and that's maybe why White has lashed out here with f5, trying to get active counterplay. And I always think active counterplay is the way to go, Fiona. Don't sit passively, go active.
Something. I mean, you have to do something in this position. You can't just sit. And by the way, I was just, as I said earlier, I'm always keeping an eye on Twitter, and I saw an interesting stat posted by the official account of the Pro Chess League saying twice as many users picked the Norway Gnomes to win the Pro Chess League as picked any other team. Don't miss them taking on Delhi Dynamite. So that's interesting that so many people think Norway Gnomes will win the league. And I have to say, if Magnus had lost that game, they will probably end up winning the first round today, 2.5, 1.5. But they would have lost the first round. And let's remind you that Delhi Dynamite are bringing in Salem Saleh from round 2, so getting a bit stronger. So that would have been a massive game for the final stand of that match.
Yeah, and we can see here now this is quite easily winning because Black has eventually won on g3. Harry the h-pawn will become a queen there. So the Gnomes take the first round, Fiona. That's an interesting fact, though. Like you say about people, a big consensus thinking that the Gnomes are going to win the whole thing. They certainly were one of the favourites before this tournament started because they got such young and strong players. But I mean, there's so many other great teams as well. It's going to be very exciting the last part of this competition.
Good thing.
Okay, so I expect we're now just going to wait for the next round to start.
Right.
And,
so let's go. Well, we're not going to wait for we're going to go to the other match, and we will probably remain with that until it's over to follow both games because there is a break time in between matches. So let's go to Grandmaster Benjamin Giledura. who's playing against Antoni Yatsenko. Antoni Yatsenko, who's only the board 4 player for the Gorky Stormbringers, but he's done amazingly well this season, and he's now an exchange up. But how much compensation does Black?
Well, let me find the game first. So, who? Sorry.
So this is Grandmaster Proman 1999 against Factor SNFS.
Okay, got it. So, okay, we got the game now, Fiona. So, as you say, one of the real stars of the Gorky Stormbringers, the player of the white pieces here. He's done brilliantly so far, and what's happening in this position? So, I mean, it is an extra exchange for white, but black seems to have very dangerous compensation with this powerful knight here. And also, is he winning the exchange back somehow? Well, white finds a great move there, hitting a rook, hitting a pawn on e6 at the same time. And, you know, if white can consolidate here, white will clearly be better. So he's been a real star, yeah, the player, the white pieces here.
Yeah.
So, okay. And queen e4 now being played. So, I don't know. I mean, it looks like white should just be doing okay here. That'd be a big upset, wouldn't it? I mean, against the top seed of the Budapest team.
We were talking about Benjamin Gladura a bit earlier, and he's really a very promising young GM. Because you were commentating, he beat none other than Vichy Anand in Gibraltar 2 years ago.
Yeah, he's a very positional player, the player of the black pieces. He likes playing, you know, slow positional games. Now, I think while we wait for this one to develop, we've heard there's another very exciting game in the same match. And
that's probably Mikhail Gorozhanin against Oliver Mihok.
Yeah, and this looks like carnage at the moment. Absolute. What happened here? I have to have a look how things developed here. So,
and just to point out, if you're watching this, it says the player with the black pieces, Oliver Mihok, is an IM, but I just looked him up on FIDE. He's actually a GM. So I think FIDE just gave out new titles a couple of days ago. So possible he just turned GM a few days ago. But he's a GM, the player with the black pieces.
And this gets very aggressive. White grabs the pawn on b7. And this is a very dangerous move because now black gains a very big initiative here. Obviously, if you grab a pawn in the opening, then you're wasting time. And look at that horrible move, bishop to f1. That's a move you just want to avoid playing. Black seems to be doing very well now. All of black's pieces attacking. It's well worth a pawn. White decides to castle queenside, and now a beautiful idea. I don't know if it works, but it's a beautiful idea. Knight to b4. Opening up the c-file at the cost of a piece. This is great play from black. We'll see if it's going to work. White really has to take that. The knight was too strong. And now we use that open c-file. And here, rook takes b2. And white is in a cage here, but white is a piece up. So I don't know what is going on here, Fiona. What is going on? e5 looks like the first move I'd think of, but, you know, just as a move.
I have to. I mean, it's very difficult, of course, to figure this out. He hasn't. e5 looked interesting, but instead he's taken on d4. What is this?
Well,
what is this?
I mean, I'm assuming black is winning here, even though black is, you know, black is a piece down. But this is stronger than e5 because my idea was to get a queen to e5, you know, by playing e5.
Yeah, but just eliminating the pawn on d4.
Yeah. And this
is even more brutal.
Yeah, this is a monstrous threat. Queen to e5. Yeah. Can white defend this? He can play knight to f3, but that looks very, very ropey as well. You know.
I mean, so he's just decided to allow May.
Well, no, it's not quite.
No May.
So let's have a look. So,
I mean, if Mikhail Gorozhanin can survive this,
yeah. Well, he's actually holding on. I forgot, I'll be honest, about this move defending, and he might be getting out of this. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's anything clear.
If I could play twice, get my bishop out of the way, and get castled, but I can't really do that.
It's a whole rook now, though. We have to remember it's a whole rook up. So yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, a rook is a rook, and you might even, I mean, be able to castle here and just give up your bishop. But then black's got 2 pawns for the exchange. So,
yeah, I'm just trying to. I'm looking at the position and trying. If only, I just need a bit of time, but I don't have the time.
So, okay, so queen takes d4. White to play. White just needs to get out of this trouble, but he can't. He's really struggling to find a move here. If you actually think what white can play, this is a major problem position, and there's, I think, a lot of threats coming, even bishop d3. So black playing a fantastic attacking game. I mean, is castling so bad? I mean, oh, you can't castle. You move the king. Oh, it is bad then. You know,
yeah.
he can't even castle. Do you reckon that's why he's spending so much time, Fiona? He's thinking, why can't I castle? The computer's not working. I want to castle. I can't castle, stupid computer. Maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe he's smashing his computer up now because he thinks there's a problem with the program, but he's moved his king, so he can't castle, of course. I can't believe we were talking about castling.
Just to let you know, I'm very happy that we're joined in the chat by Ben Feingold and David Pruss, so welcome to both of you. And David also thinks this must be a win for black.
Yeah, it must be. So, okay, so white trying to get his queen maybe around to e3, but then there's a knight takes g2, so I'm not sure this is helping, but we're kind of awaiting maybe a killer blow here. I mean, queen e5, I guess queen f3 is sort of holding on. So is there something stronger here? I mean, it's still a okay, what about, I'd love to play bishop d3. I mean, this is the kind of move which I want to play. Cutting the queen off so the queen can't get back over to defend. And can white now take on d3 and play king here? Is this legal or only barely legal? It looks like it might be okay for white. I say that very slowly because I'm not sure. Really unsure about this position.
Instead of that, he's gone queen e5. And it's just, I mean, we said white is a rook up, but he's so tied up. Yeah. I mean, he can barely move any of his pieces. And just to let you know, the game between Attila Vertetix, I'm really unsure in the pronunciation, I have to say, in this match, and Azad Sharafiev was a draw.
Okay.
So that's top board guy for the Gorky Stormbringers against the 4th rated. But as we said earlier, there's a 100-point rating difference in the two teams. So those two players were pretty much had the same rating. And but Ilya Dudukin, who's also been doing very well, he has now taken the lead for the Gorky Stormbringers by beating international master Gabor Nagy with the black pieces. So are we on course for another Gorky miracle?
Well, I think Budapest are going to get a point back in this game. I think that's becoming clear. I can't believe I mean, in a blitz game, maybe if you weren't playing on the computer, you should just try castling and see what happens here. Would you do that? Yeah.
Also, we have to remember Anton Yatsenko is still his exchange up against Benjamin Gladura. So we'll come back to that in a second. We're looking at this game. I think we should stick with this. I think. Sorry. I think. I'm not sure what I think. So if I take on e2, what am I? If I take on e2, d3 is hanging. Sorry. Has white found a way?
Well, white's found a pretty decent defensive try with g3 here, and yeah, I'm just wondering if there's any nasty thing that can happen. So is queen takes d3 working? I mean, obviously. You know, can you play this move? I think you can't because a knight to f4 check is winning for black. And the point is now, I'm trying to take the queen. And if you go queen e3, then I've got a fork on g2. So probably this is still looking... Has this actually occurred in the game? No, it hasn't. Okay, so probably this is still very good. I mean, I think it must be good for black.
So he's gone queen e3 instead. And by the way, we've had a question in the chat from Harvey Little Spectre saying, Magnus game has started. Simon and Fiona, would you cover it? So what's happening, just for all of you watching us, the matches have been timed so that there is a little break between, and we will always stick with the end of the matches and then go to Magnus. So we'll just, especially since this match is quite close, stick with this, and then as soon as that's over, go over to Magnus.
Yeah, I agree, and I think generally we can probably leave this game here. If you count the pawns, things have sort of died down a little bit, but Black now has 3 pawns for what we call the exchange. So White has a rook, Black has a knight. So all from going a rook down, Black's gone material up now. But probably more importantly, if you look at White's pieces, they're all suffocating here.
But I was going to say, let's quickly go back to Anton Yatsenko against Benjamin Gladura, because that's quite interesting now. White is still in exchange up, but his king is on e4. So if we go there, it'd be interesting to hear what you think.
Okay, and who's the player of the White pieces? What's his name?
Anton Yatsenko, aka Vector SNFS.
Okay, just trying to find the game. Might need to refresh the page quickly. So let me just do that. So I'm just going to refresh the page so we can see that. Black's going to win that game. So Black will level the score. So probably it's all on that game you mentioned there. So let me just...
Anton Yatsenko should be winning this. But of course the combination of queen and knight is always dangerous.
I have to find the game first. So... Yeah. It's not coming up for me. So who's the player of the Black pieces, did you say?
Can you just search for Vector SNFS?
Okay, here we go. Got it. So Black is winning queen. No, he's not winning a queen.
No, he's not.
So
okay. Okay, so it must just be over. I thought he lost the queen, but...
Very cheeky draw offer there from the player of the Black pieces. That's a bit insulting. You offer a draw and you're rook down. I mean, the guy should be... The guy should, he should learn some chess manners for that one. Do you think that was a psychological thing? I know White's very short on time, but so
White
what?
is very low on time, but still.
No, so what? I mean, it shouldn't matter so much. You're a rook up.
I think Black will get mated very shortly now. Anyway, I think the time. I think Black might even run out of checks. Maybe he's run out of checks already, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, you can play Queen D3 check, of course.
But then I play Queen D5, and now I'll just play Queen F5, and that... I'm surprised he didn't play Queen F5 here.
Maybe it's not so simple, because the G and H pawns in an ending without queens is probably winning because you're C pawn, but it's not so easy. And we have to remember he is very short time in this position. So now Rook F3 is the win. Why didn't you go Rook F3 H3? That was so easy. This
must be easy to...
Well, probably, yeah. I mean, I guess so. The C pawn.
I mean, I get the queen so quickly, and Black has just resigned. So it is the Gorky Stonebringers who take the lead again, and I think we'll have to go back to the game between Gorojan and Mihok, just to confirm, to see if he can. No, well, Gorky Stonebringer is already 2.5 ahead, so they will win round 1 regardless. Sorry, I'm struggling with this. But let's go back there regardless. The players are now very short on time. Well, the player with the Black pieces only has 25 seconds.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, hi. Yeah. You want to take us through it then?
Yeah, sure. Do we have the game open?
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, we still have the same material balance we had earlier, where Black has all these pawns, so 4 pawns for the exchange, but now White has just taken the pawn on h4, but I think that a4 pawn, do you think that will decide the... Well, every time I say something, the pawns just drop. So the a4 pawn, is that dropping now?
Well, I mean, I think this is quite easily winning for Black, but it's a time situation which is going to be a little bit dangerous because, you've got 3 connected past pawns, and they should roll up the board. Look at the position of the White Knight. It's one of those positions, very amusingly, which you look at in endgame textbooks where the bishop just dominates the knight.
I'm going to interrupt you. I've just realized because people are begging for Magnus in the chat, and I just brought up his game, and it seems crazy, so let's go there. So Magnus now has the white pieces against Sahaj Grover.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's see what happened in this game very quickly. And Magnus with white, and the player of the black piece, I believe he's a grandmaster, isn't he? Even though he's
a young grandmaster.
So this opening here is well, it looks like Magnus today is playing b3 and b6. Why not? and very weird opening. What is this knight doing? The knight's had too much whiskey over there, but he's going for a quick attack with queen h5, and this bishop has now opened up because black's lost the pawn on e5. So going through the moves, knight g6, Magnus developing very quickly and gets all his pieces out. And now a standard idea in these positions, f4. And this move f4 is just aimed at opening up position, starting attack. And now white gets a very good central position. But look at this next move. This just seems like a very standard idea in these type of positions, because h6 weakens the hold on the g6 square. So now white decides to do a bit of dismantling. Knight takes f7, and king has to take. And now here comes Freddy, like out of Nightmare on Elm Street. Here he comes. Well, he doesn't do it straight away. Okay, well, actually now, queen h4 check. He allows it. Magnus allows queen h4 check. And, okay, this doesn't change anything because he still keeps the pin on the knight. This must be winning for Magnus because he's a pawn up and he's going to win this one, surely. Surely. Bishop d6, and of course this is winning for Magnus. It's a nice little tactic there. That knight takes f7 is very...
There's a question in the chat. Why didn't black instead of taking the queen on h5, why didn't he play knight f6? Just because the knight is hanging. Okay.
Sorry, whereabouts?
No, don't mind me. I just answered my own question, or the question from the chat. Someone was asking why not knight f6 instead of taking the queen on h5, but the knight is just hanging on g6.
Wow, look at that move. Magnus, rather than playing the simple bishop takes g6, he's gone for a crazy tactical idea here. I mean, I love this. I love this. And this idea is aiming to take with a rook, so he has a very strong discovered check. I mean, that's beautiful. I think 9 players out of 10 would just take on g6 with check, but not the world champion. He's throwing his knights about with, complete sort of. They're dominating here, and I guess Fiona here, if pawn takes knight, rook takes g6 is crushing. You're a piece down, so let's see if there's any way you can defend. Bishop e7. What would Magnus play here after this move? Is there some kind of beautiful checkmate here, or is it just rook takes? I think the simple idea, rook takes g7 check, the king moves, and now you go rook takes e7, and this tactic is always going to be working. So probably Magnus is going to win this very quickly, Fiona, I'd imagine. So.
And we already have a result in this game, and that is, we haven't even had a chance to look at it, but Salem Saleh, who has just come into this match for round 2, has already won his game against Johannes Haug. So yeah, well done to Salem, giving Delhi Dynamite the lead in this round 2, but Magnus will equalize momentarily.
Yeah, I mean, I told you that this guy, I'll just bring up a picture of him again, and this has been substituted in for the Delhi Dynamites.
And just as we speak, Oliver Mihok has won his game against the Budapest Gambit, so getting back 1 point, but still the round 1 went to Gorky Stormbringers, 2.5, 1.5, despite being 100 points lower weighted on average. So kudos to the Gorky Stormbringers.
And okay, so I mean, Magnus is going to win this one, and I did say earlier, this guy Salem, who's been brought in as a wild card for the Delhi Dynamites. He's an incredibly good. I can't wait for his game against Magnus, because I remember he nearly defeated Anand very recently in the Blitz World Championship. So I've heard about his blitz play and his quick play. I think he's a great substitution. So I really want to see his game against Magnus. And
that's coming up next in round 3.
Sure. And okay, well, it's clear Magnus is going to win this game. I mean, he's a pawn up. He's attacking. And I don't think there's much point following this one anymore because of the match situation. You can see.
So let's go to Abhijit Gupta, who's playing against Johann Sebastian Christiansen. And there are a few pieces on the book, but it looks...
Can I ask a question? You said that Salem won, but the scoreboard doesn't say... It's 1.5, 3.5 to the Norway Gnomes. So is that the right score? Did Salem actually definitely win that one? In the game?
I can't find him now.
Okay, because we're just looking at the score, and it's clear Norway Gnomes are two up at the moment. and they're going to go another up because Magnus is going to win this game. Looks like they're dominating, but
maybe I mislooked. Okay, I'll inquire.
Okay, so which game do you want to go to?
I wanted to go to Abhijit Gupta.
Right. Okay. So.
Yeah, and Greg Shahadi is confirming that Salem won, and the score was inaccurate, and it's actually 2.5. So
okay.
That will be corrected very shortly.
That makes a big difference. 2 points to 0 point difference, which is okay. And 2.5 all. That is good. So last week, Fiona, do you know, with all the matches going on, and there was something, I don't know how many matches, like what was it, 8 or something, more than 8, but the winning score between the teams was only, I think the biggest margin was only a couple of points maximum.
Yeah.
All the matches were right down to the wire, and I expect the same thing today. Look at this position. Black's in a cage. Sorry, I was
going to say, when I said let's bring up that game, I thought it looks, I mean, this must be game over. What do you do after knight e5? I know I'm not threatening to take.
Well, I'm assuming here, like, Black just can't really move. Is he gonna? His only idea is something like Queen here. So yeah. Oh, look at this. A3, A3. He's going for Zugzwang. He's going for Zugzwang. Yeah, this is beautiful. But
wow.
What's he going to do after Queen to E8 though? What's his killer blow there? I think it's Rook takes H7. Is that winning? And then you've got Queen check, Knight F6 check, and I think that's winning. Rook takes H7 here, and is this winning? I've got Queen H4 check. Yeah. You go King here, Knight to F6 check.
Yeah,
it's completely winning. Will he play it? I mean, this is he has played it. I think, has he played it?
He hasn't played it yet, but he has 10 minutes on the clock, so I guess he's just double checking. But I think he has played it now.
He's played it.
Here we go, Queen H4, but King G6. So this is probably what he was checking. But there must be a mate here.
There must be a mate. I don't believe. I mean, you can go.
In the worst case, I can just play Queen G5. Yeah, I was just gonna say Knight F6.
Just do the same. And
it's mate now. Queen H6.
It's mate, but you're also just it's mate. We might as well mate. I was thinking, do we want to be a knight up and an ending, or do we want to checkmate? Mate is better, isn't it?
I think he's going for mate, and there we have it. A very nice game, and Magnus Carlsen has also won his game.
Right.
So I think we're back to all square, right? If I'm not mistaken.
It's all square, but there's one game remaining in this match.
So let's go. And that game is the player we talked about so much, the young Garg with the black pieces against Arian Tari. So let's go there.
And the funny thing about this match is that, well, Arian has been the last player in both matches, in both rounds. I think he managed to... Did they win the first round? Remember, after this, they're at the halfway moment. So, a key game, this one. But the player of the black pieces should have defeated Magnus Carlsen, but he lost on time somehow. Knight E3 played, so can Arian improve on Magnus Carlsen? And it seems to me that the pawn formation on the queen side... Really?
And by the way, just before I let you talk about the game, Greg Shahadi is just saying in the chat, where's my diamond? Indeed, he has lost his diamond. I'm not sure what happened there. But talking of diamond, we're giving away a 1-month diamond membership. And I need to start looking into the chat more because there's so many interesting games today that it's hard to keep track of everything. But I will see what's going on and give away 1-month diamond membership at the end of the show. And I'll let you take us through the chess now, Simon.
Okay, so, I was just saying the pawn formation on the queen side must favour white because your pawns are much further advanced, and there's always a problem later on with a pawn on a7. That pawn, often in these situations, in an ending, can be a key pawn. If you lose that pawn, it's going to be game over. And, one plan that white will try to do is get a knight to c6 later on to challenge that pawn, or maybe just control, first of all, the c-file, try to get into c7 later on. So I really like white's position here, actually. I think white should be doing excellently well, and he's challenging for the c-file here. I mean, it's still very solid for black. Black has a plan, potentially, of cementing a knight on d5, but this is a case of the isolated pawn. This pawn is a little guy in the middle of nowhere, because he hasn't got any brothers to help him out. But I don't think that's a big deal here because there's no real way black can attack this. And I think the queenside pawn formation gives white the advantage. So I do think, that Arian should be better here. But you know, don't underestimate this guy who's only 22-30, Fiona, but he's not playing like it, is he? He's playing like he nearly beat.
As I said earlier, he's only 16 years old, and I've seen enough young Indian chess players in my life to know that a lot of the time their ratings, also the rating you see here is it says 23-31, but his real rating is almost 100 points higher than that. So he's rated over 2300 already, and God only knows what he's really worth. You know, he could be next GM in the making. I mean, he could be a GM very shortly. These kids are just so talented. There's so much, so many strong players coming up from India. So I have to say I'm not too surprised.
Yeah, okay. And we've now seen Black play, which I think is a good idea, because again, we're talking about if you are defending a position, Black's slightly worse here. You should try to defend a position actively. There's no point sitting there and suffer. You might as well go down in a blaze of glory. And with his last move, at least Black is trying to create some action in the centre, but it could also backfire. I mean, what's happening? I mean, I guess you've got to go queen takes because you've got to keep the rook on the queen here. If you go rook takes, well, I'd probably just win the pawn on e5. I go pawn up. So I'd imagine queen takes has been played. And the tactical point is if pawn takes pawn, knight takes e5. And this releases the rook against the white queen. So how is Aryan going to deal with this here? Because if you go d5, the problem with this move is you lose control of the c5 square, and that is a beautiful square for the black knight on c5. You can never kick that knight away. So I'm kind of thinking, okay, well, very interesting move there. He's going for another plan here, Fiona. Yeah.
And you know what, I get a bit ahead of myself because this match is still underway, but I have the pairings in front of me, and the next round 3, between Delhi Dynamite, because I think Aryan Tari will give the lead to the Norway Gnomes by winning this game, in my opinion. But then in round 3, we have a massive clash here. We have Abhijit Gupta will be playing against Aryan Tari, Salem Saleh will be playing Magnus Carlsen, and Sahaj Grover. And then on the last 2 boards, Sahaj Grover will be playing Johannes Haug and Aradia Garg, Johann Sebastian Christiansen. But those 2 clashes between Abhijit Gupta and Aryan Tari and Salem Saleh and Magnus could be potentially decisive.
Yeah, and I think you're right here, Fiona. This to give the Gnomes a lead, they're relying on their very strong youngster here, Aryan Tari. Is he only 18, something like that? He's a very young player, isn't he? A very strong young player. And again, I think as we were talking about earlier on, the pawn formation on the queen side, Aryan's played very cleverly because
Aryan is 17, sorry.
17, and we can see here that he's going to try and at some point bring the knight into the c6 square. So I do think this should be very pleasant. h5, he loves using Harry, doesn't he? He's got a little bit of affection for Harry, this kid. You know, go Harry. He used it with power against Magnus Carlsen. He shoved Harry right up Magnus Carlsen's position. Good thing I didn't say anything else there. And he's now trying to do it to the Norwegian. Do you think he's going to go? Should we have a bet, Fiona? Do you think this young Indian kid will go h5 or h4 on every single game? I think he might do.
I hope he does. I have to say, I hope he does.
Yeah, I hope so. It'd be good to see it. And I assume the idea is, okay, this was critical. This was critical because the ending, I was thinking, is very, very good. And if we look at a position here where you take the knight, I take the rook. One of the things you should always remember at home here is the rook is very good against the 2 minor pieces in endings generally, but especially in this position because of the queenside pawn structure. So here, I'd imagine white would just go check, and now, as we mentioned before, start targeting the pawn on a7. You're going to win that pawn. Ari on a6 will become a queen. So I think that's probably the idea. Hence why black moved the rook to f8, only move. But white's playing very well in this game, Fiona.
Right, yeah. And you know, I have to say, it's not only black's position that worries me, but also the fact he's now down to under 30 seconds. And for those of you, once again, who joined us a bit late, the player with the black pieces here, Aradia Garg, had a completely winning position against none other than Magnus Carlsen in round 1. He was a piece up in an ending, but he lost on time. So slightly worried about his time situation here.
Yeah, again, yeah. I mean, I'm quite worried about his time situation and his general situation, to be honest. I mean, it looks like he's in trouble. And this is just to let everyone know whereabouts we are. We're coming up to the halfway moment in the match between Delhi and Norway Gnomes. It's 4 rounds. Every player plays every other player in the team. And at the halfway mark here, it looks, as long as White does keep pushing here, that Norway Gnomes are going to take a 1-point advantage. But the Gorky Stormbringers, which we'll come to very shortly if you're a Gorky or Budapest fan, again, they're the surprise team. But they are Russians. And I was told as a kid, Fiona, beware the Russians.
You know, we were just talking about how many strong young Indian players are coming up. But if there's 2 places I would never go to play chess, I think, in the world, it's probably India and Russia. I mean, I would love to visit the countries, of course, but not play chess there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they seem to all be underrated, don't they, in India and Russia? I mean, Russia have such good chess education. You know, they learn chess at a very young age, and they're taught very, very well. Okay, but yeah, going back to this game here, White now has complete domination, surely. Black running out of moves. Both are White's knights. And out of time. Under 10 seconds left, so I think we're stay with the end of this one. Queen exchange, very clever, because the queen's come off. A7 will drop. He's offering the queen exchange. Black decides against it here. And is there any hope? Well, the only hope I think Black has is if White does something very, very silly here. So I think that's unlikely to occur. And
while we stick with this game, there's a question in the chat from Grandmaster Konavet. Is Wesley playing tonight? Yes, he is. So for those of you who joined us a bit later, tonight is an incredible Pro Chess League night, because 5 of the world's top 6 players are playing. So we have Magnus Carlsen in our division, in the Eastern Division. Then we have later on Fabiano Caruana and Wesley So and Hikaru Nakamura, the whole of the US powerhouse. That's the word I was after. The whole American powerhouse is playing. And on top of that, MVL. So incredible night. And there are also 49 GMs playing in total today.
Yeah. And like you said, 5 out of the world's top 6 players are playing, which is, I think, just, you know, absolutely unbelievable statistic. So White has grabbed this pawn on A7, so we're getting to an ending. Now, the only trick there was something with knight D2, but that's been avoided. And as long as White's careful here, he will win this game, because it actually has gone down the line we assumed, and A6 pawn is going to win the day. Look at this pawn. It was all about that pawn formation, and now look at it. Ari, the A pawn, comes down, and that's the end of the game, and they take a 1-point advantage there. So very nice positional game there, Fiona, I thought, for White. Yeah,
I thought so too, and too many things are happening. First of all, Ben Feingold says I shouldn't forget him. So absolutely, there's not just 5 of the top 6 players in the world playing. There's also Grandmaster Ben Feingold. So make sure you not only watch Simon and I, but once we're done, there are 3 more divisions coming up. So lots of chess. And meanwhile, in the Gorky match, Mikhail Gorozhanin has won, and well, he lost the first round, but he's beaten Benjamin Gladura. So Benjamin Gladura, who's on 0 out of 2.
He is on 0 out of 2, and he's the top player for the Budapest Gambits. I mean, like, that is quite serious. You know, there's a lot of pressure being top board, but if your top board underperforms, it kind of messes up your whole situation. By the way, I'm just jumped into the match here, and we're now moving on to the Budapest Gambits.
I mean, I could go on and on about how impressed I am with the Gorky Stormbringers. I mean, last week they were outrated by 100 points on average. This week they are outrated by 100 points on average, and they have a 2-point lead in the match already. Last week it was really close. They drew the match and they had draw odds, but now they have a 2-point lead despite being 100. I mean, as I say, I could go on and on. Very impressive display by the Gorky Stormbringers.
Yeah, I mean, they're the only team from Russia, and they keep outperforming themselves. And some of their players, and we're going to go to one of their players now.
And I was just saying, there are 49 GMs playing in total in the Pro Chess League tonight, but the Gorky Stormbringers, I think they're the only team who don't have a single one. So out of the 16 teams remaining in the Pro Chess League right now, I think the Gorky are the only team tonight playing without a single GM.
Yeah, and let's go over to one of their star performers, who is Dudekin. He's the dude. He's the dude, which is doing all the damage. Do you like the Big Lebowski, Fiona? Have you seen that film?
I do.
The dude.
I like the Big Lebowski. I do like White Russians.
I know you do, Fiona. I've seen you down a fair few in your life, I must say. So,
just a couple.
Just a couple. What before 11 a.m. Is that your normal routine? So
let's go back to the game.
Okay, sorry. You get me back on track again. And
as I said, that's what I'm here for.
That's what you're here, to keep me on track. And what we're actually seeing in this game, again, it's Harry. It's Harry Day. It's always Harry Bow Day. And the player of the white piece has been one of the stars. And we're just going to, let's just go back a little bit, because it's quite an interesting opening. It's one of these funny A6 lines from black. Well, white plays quite aggressively, and now you often put your rook on this stupid square in this variation. I never quite understand this. But later on, look what happens very shortly. It looks like white's very comfortable here with two central pawns. Black has a lot of moves to play here to get his king castled. The bishop is in the way. The bishop on e6 is in the way. Blech. Bishop f4 played. Knight takes e5. And now f6 is played. G6, so black needs to try and get castled. And of course, what should you always do in chess? What should you always do when they go G6, Fiona? Can I hear you shout it?
Up the board.
Push him up the board. Here we go. Do. And, cool, we're going to start our own chess band, Fiona. No, that's a stupid thing to say. And okay, so h4 played, and this is a great idea in this position because, you know, black is very cramped. Rook a8, black trying to get the rook back in the game. And now this pawn comes up the board. G5, and the issue here that black has, unless he plays his next move, is if white gets h6 in, black can never get castled. So he has to go bishop h6, which is a bit of an uncomfortable square. This is the only way he can get his king safe. Bishop c4 played, and again, I like white's position a lot. Queen d7, white now castles in this structure. So it looks to me like white's doing very, very well in this game as well. The Gorky Stormbringers they're racing ahead, Fiona, aren't they? Racing ahead.
They are incredible, and let's go to their top player today, and that's Azad Sharafiev, and he's a piece up in an ending. The only question is, will it be enough to win? But I think so. So Azad Sharafiev, who's playing against Gabor Nagy.
What's their handle?
Aquilibrium against Gabix 94.
Okay, and well, again, I mean, there's only one side who's going to win this game, and it's
winning.
It's just easily winning. I mean, you're going to win probably. I reckon black will resign the next two moves. Do you want a better bottle of wine?
No.
No. Ah, so another point for the Gorky Stormbringers. These are the outsiders.
On fire. I mean.
Yeah. They are indeed.
Words fail me. What can I say?
Yeah, certainly. They are massively on fire. And I think you might have won that bet, by the way.
Yeah,
Fiona.
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
I think it was quite likely, but here I think knight
silly.
Knight
silly.
h2. Yeah, this wins. Yeah, it's silly. I could be owing you a bottle of wine there, or a White Russian, your choice. And the point is here, if this move knight f3 now wins, of course, and pawn takes pawn. Cool, they're playing on quite a long time, aren't they? Is he going to resign, this guy?
No,
no.
Doesn't look like it.
He doesn't want to resign.
Doesn't want to resign, no, but I think mate is impending. There we go. Nice checkmate, queen h3.
Yeah.
So, wow. Giving Gorky Stormbringers, what, a 3-point lead?
Yes, according to the scores now, if we look, they're going to go another up. So they're 3 points up, and there's a couple more games still in this round. But the Budapest Gambits, they're having a terrible round so far, aren't they, Fiona? Really not a great round. And let's have a look what other games are still going on in this round, shall we, just to see.
So there's still 2 games. Well, the games we just looked at, we'll come back to that later, between Ilya Dudukin and Attila Vertitix. And then there's a game between Oliver Mihok and Anton Yatsenko. So let's go there. And Harry has just been pushed up the board as I speak. So that's a game between Olka and Factor SNFS.
Sure. I mean, this is a game. You know, if the Budapest Gambits have got any chance, they need to win on some boards occasionally. Yeah. You can't lose every game. And here they are a pawn up with Oliver, who played that great attacking game earlier on. He seems to be playing very well for Budapest. They're a pawn up, and it's a nice pawn on the queen side. And also this move G6 again has created some weaknesses around the black king. White has a simple plan, putting Harry on G7 and then going checkmate on on H6, then going checkmate on G7.
I like that plan, Simon.
I like checkmate plans, Fiona. They're always quite fun, aren't they? You know, they're always fun to get into action. Put the pawn and then get the queen in. Checkmate. Thank you very much. So White's pushing for the win here, but there's a bit of work to do. I would say H5 now, blocking Harry up the board. Still reasonable drawing chances for Black here. I would say good, decent-ish chances for Black to draw. It looks like these are the last 2 games going on, Fiona. I mean, we talked a bit about the prizes. Who do you think is going to win the whole competition?
Unlike you, I did fill out my bracket. I did terribly, starting in round 1 already. I think, yes, last week, more than half of my predictions were wrong. But I have the London Towers to win the league.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But again, I'm always a bit worried. I make my predictions with my heart rather than my head, which isn't maybe the best of strategies. But there you go. They're still in. I will be cheering for them tonight. And yeah, I have to say I'm too unfamiliar with the American teams, with the Pacific and what are they called? The Pacific and the...
And the other American team.
Exactly. Well, division. I think
Atlantic.
I'm always sleeping when they are playing. So, but I will take time to look into that. But so far, more familiar, of course, with the European teams. I think there's still a lot of teams who could win it. So many strong teams, so many strong players. But I'll be cheering for the London Towers.
I'm totally with you, Fiona. I'm also cheering for London Towers. Obviously, you were at university in London, as I well know. We met up occasionally there, and I've used to live in London, and I live quite near London, and we've got to have favourites. We've got to. This is what you've got to get behind the team you want to. And I'm sure everyone watching this is doing the same. And I do want London to do well. Out of our league, I'm not going to say I have really any favourites out of the league, but I've been impressed. Really, the 2 teams that impressed me the most are the Gorky Stormbringers, because they're one of the underrated teams, but they just keep performing, Fiona. And also the Norway Gnomes they got the world champion. They've got an incredibly strong team. They've got a flexibility with their players as well. So I expect them to go a long way at the same time. Mm-hmm. I heard some funny things earlier, Fiona, that I heard from some of the teams. This is quite interesting, because very quickly, while we look at this game, because it's building up slowly, I'm just going to show the prizes one more time. Mm-hmm. And there is the first prize of 20,000, and we're getting very close now to where prizes are going to be guaranteed for the players. It's a lot of money, and I've already heard I've got some inside information, some gossip. That do you like that? Do you like gossip hour?
Well, yeah.
At News Desk Williams, I'm just having a look at my news desk. It's gossip hour, the 6 o'clock gossip hour news, and I've heard that some of the teams, Fiona, already are disagreeing on the payout structures that they should be getting, because a lot of these teams have something like 8 players. Some players are demanding more money because they've played more games. And I think this is quite interesting. There's some internal fights going on, Fiona. So, yeah.
I guess that's always to be expected from some teams, not all. But yeah, I think it seems fair to me that those who played more should get more. But I'm glad I'm not involved in the team payout discussions.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of money, and this is something where I hope all teams can agree on, basically. Okay, let's go back to the two games which are remaining in this match between Budapest and Gorky, the last games of round 2. And again, not too much has occurred in the game here, where White's still a pawn up. White has this active rook. He has the queen.
Oh, and the other game was a draw, the game we looked at earlier between Ilya Dudukin and Attila Vertetix.
Right, so that was a draw, and that was looking like it. Well, actually, that's quite a good result for Black in that game. Let me just quickly go back over there. If we remember this game, where White pushed Harry up the board, it seemed around this position here that White should be doing exceptionally well here. So it was a good save that actually for the Budapest Gambits, and I think they really need to grind this one down and make it a 2-point difference to have a lot of chance in the last 2 rounds.
Simon, I'm going to interrupt you. I think for once we're going to make an exception to our rule of sticking with a match before it's over, because we have Magnus Carlsen playing Salem Saleh. We also have Abhijit Gupta playing Tari Aryan. So let's maybe go there, and I'll keep an eye on the last game of Gorky against Budapest.
Yeah, so I agree with you, and this is a very interesting matchup between two incredibly strong players. We can go through the opening quickly. It's only 11 moves played. Magnus has the advantage of the white pieces, and today it's quite funny. Magnus, he experiments a lot, and all of his games today he's played b3 within the first couple of moves, so he's trying out this experiment today. So we see, I think this is a very good idea against the player of the black pieces, because Salem is a very good tactician, so you don't want to get involved with an early slugfest, you know, at the early stages of the game. And we have some simple developments. Now d5 played, and here a standard idea, c4. White's got to do something in the centre with a pawn, otherwise he'll just be worse. Both sides continue developing normally, and now as soon as c5 has been played, Magnus takes on d5, and because of his great knowledge of what positions he enjoys playing, he goes d4, and it sort of transposes into another kind of opening now with this d4 idea. Salem plays knight e4, going for pressure and pinning the pawn on d4. So I guess he's going to try to just get as active. He plays much better when he's active. Knight c3, knight c6, and now Magnus plays knight to a4. Crafty idea, because he's trying to make this pawn decide what it wants to do. I'm wondering here. I mean, black played c4. Was b5 possible here? Is that, why didn't he play b5 here? Was that not an idea here? Why didn't Salem play b5? Just trying to understand. I mean, that's kind of natural when your opponent puts a knight on the side of the board. Wouldn't sure. Maybe, okay. I'm not sure why he didn't play b5, because the tactical point is you can't take here because you lose your bishop on b2. So surprised by that.
While you were talking us through the game, I opened the game between Aryan Tari and Abhijit Gupta, which has already caught my eye because of White's very nice attacking chances. So I'll let you talk us through the rest of these moves from Magnus' game, and then I'd be quite happy to go there. And just as you speak, just as I speak, b5 has been played now. Okay,
so black is certainly getting some kind of queenside majority, but b5 in this position now, there's no pawn on around here. There's a big problem with the long diagonal, and Magnus aims to take advantage of that. So it's getting tactical already, and he plays knight to e5. A lot of action going on here. Unleashing the bishop here, pieces on pre all over the shop. Black takes the knight on e5. White recaptures another knight, and this rook is being attacked. Bishop to h3. Wow, what's happening? It's gone crazy. If they work this all out, we get this position here. A lot of exchanges, and it seems like it's calmed down a little bit now, Fiona, thankfully.
Yeah. So I guess Magnus will now either play rook e1 or bishop d2, or will he he can swap queens first?
Yeah, I'd probably be tempted to play rook e1, I think, at the moment. I quite like my bishop on e4, but bishop g2 is probably equally as good. I mean...
Is Magnus just more or less winning again?
I think he's doing very well here, because if you just look at the pawn structure, there's not too many tactics going on.
But I mean, also, will I just win the c pawn?
Yeah, I mean, the pawn structure, Black's pawns are horribly weak. They're all disconnected. I mean, we saw before that Black had the a4 pawn back on b5, but here, I think Black's pawns are too weak, and they're going to drop. They're going to drop. They must drop. Maybe just bishop a1 here. Keep the bishop out of the way, and you're either going to win the c4 pawn or this pawn. Okay, Magnus goes for another idea, potentially even stronger, because that is a lovely square for the bishop, really in the guts of Black's opponent. Put the bishop into d6 there, attacking the rook.
And I think we're going to witness another Magnus masterpiece. I mean, this is just an impressive display. I would say Magnus is winning already. So should we leave this for now? Can we go to Abhijit Gupta against Aryan Tari?
Yeah, this is another big game, and I'll just let you discuss this. I just need to pop away for a moment, but I won't be gone too long, Fiona, okay? So I'll be back very shortly.
Yep. So the problem is, as you know, Simon is the master of the chessboard, so I can't actually take you through the moves. But what I saw earlier when I was looking at this game, those of you who know me or who've watched some of my shows, I always like getting attacking chances. I'm not too fond of swapping queens. That is possible now. But what I saw earlier was a semi-open G file. White has the bishop here. White has a monster bishop on b2, pointing towards g7. And I think I really, really like White here. And this could be pre-decisive, I would say, in this match between Norway and Delhi Dynamite, because we have the all-GM clashes here between Magnus Carlsen and Salem Saleh, and between Aryan Tari and Abhijit Gupta. If Norway go 2-0 on those two boards, I think this could be a sort of pre-decision, if that is a word. What else can I say? Meanwhile, in the other match between the Gorky Stormbringers and the Budapest Gambit, the game we were looking at earlier, where White was a pawn up, was a draw. So very good defense by Anton Yatsenko, meaning the Gorky Stormbringers are up 5.5, 2.5, and they only need 3 points out of the 8 remaining games.
Hi Fiona, sorry, I just had to pop away for a second or two there. So
sure, I was just saying that I really like Aryan's position, and I think if they manage to win 2-0, if Aryan and Magnus win, that's going to be massive for Norway. And I was also saying that Anton Yatsenko did a very good job in defending his ending a pawn down. So Gorky Stormbringers now 5.5, 2.5 up after 2 rounds.
Oh, so that was a draw. That was a big draw that they managed to save there.
Is your mic on? Because...
Hello? Testing? Should
Someone
be.
was saying there was no sound, but I think it's fine now.
Yeah, it should be. Just I've turned it back on now, so I didn't want to hear the noises while I was away, so, you know. I thought that was best to not put people through that, you know. Basically, you know, I pop into the corner of the room and have my bucket over there, which I obviously get my drinks from. But yeah, okay, so... what was this opening? I mean, did you have a look at it? Look, probably no time to look at it now.
I can't because I can't show people through it, so I think you should. We can quickly do that.
Okay, so let's have a look. Well, it started off with an English. I'm just wondering how they got to that position, and it looks like very quickly it got quite exciting, because I wouldn't expect the position we see to have come from an English opening, and we now. Oh, okay, so I like this kind of move from Black. Now, one thing we both know, Fiona, we know these positions. We love playing with these 2 pawns here. You played a Grand Prix. I played a classical Dutch. And
it's funny because we were playing together alongside each other last weekend in the Frenziel. And both you and I think we both pushed our F pawns. As White, I played a Grand Prix, and as Black, I played some sort of Dutch. And I saw someone say in some chat that it must be a pre-requirement of Cheddleton to push your F-pawn if you want to play for our team.
It is, yeah. You get guaranteed placement in the team if you push the F-pawn and win. And we both won that game very nicely, didn't we? I think so. It was good stuff. But I mean, one thing I just know about this position is if Black is allowed to play the move F5, F4, Black generally gets good attacking chances, and the way to always stop this is by playing F4 from White, because this really stops a lot of the attack. The bishop can't get in the game on C8, and it's a very good defensive move. So maybe very quickly we'll just get to the current position. G4 from Arian. Whoa, that happened quick. I might just go through that a little bit slower. A nice way to try to break up the E4 pawn. And now, well, White is trying to just basically destroy Black's centre here. He has the advantage of the two bishops. The bishop on B2, that is like an absolute monster of a piece, isn't it, Fiona? It's a really big piece.
It's funny because when you were away, I literally said the same. I said it was a monster bishop. So they got great minds.
Great minds think alike, yeah. Or Patzers think alike. What one do you think it is? One of the two.
Maybe a mix.
A mix. Yeah, I think so. And okay, let's now go to the current position, because I think White should be doing quite well up to this moment in time, but maybe not clear now, because Gupta's managed to get some ideas here with D4. And if you can get D4 in, Fiona, that great bishop is not such a great bishop anymore. I'm actually one decision I'm surprised about, Fiona, is White putting a pawn on G6. So just very quickly, I mean, I personally wouldn't have wanted to do that. Was there any way to stop it? I mean, around here, for example, if I can help going Queen G6, let's say even here, I may even, if I was White, I would have taken on F7 and played Bishop H3, because I don't want to block the G file with a pawn. You know, having a pawn on G6 blocks potential play that I have. And by playing this way, which looks forced to me, I also keep the G6 square for my rook. And I have a very simple plan here. Double up rooks on the G file, and it increases the power of my bishop. So I'm a bit surprised, if we go back to the current position, that, you know, Tarry has put a pawn on G6. And I don't know, I think Black might be doing quite well now, even, Fiona.
Yeah. I mean, this has, as soon, you know me, as soon as this queens came off, because when I first looked at this game after the opening, I was like, okay, you're going for checkmate. And then once the queens come off, and especially now if my bishop gets blocked, yeah, I'm not so happy with this anymore.
No, I agree. I mean, I think Gupta's, you know, taken the advantage of White's hands here with his idea of going D4. And if you think about the knight, he's very craftily manoeuvred this knight into a very strong square, because that knight on D3 is as good as any white bishop. And there's a danger after D4 that both white bishops are going to be very blocked. So I think Gupta's taken the advantage in this game, Fiona, and he needs to win this game to give the Delhi Dynamites a chance, I feel.
And we have Grandmaster Samuel Sevian in the chat, and he thinks Rook G1 was very bad in this game.
Okay, so let's just very quickly look at that. I mean, I still think White should have taken on F7 there, because I don't want a pawn here. I'd rather keep the rook open. I think that was the first stage. But, you know, some stage, okay, Rook G1. Okay, I agree. This is the same principle here. It's White to move. I mean, even keeping the queens on. I think someone else mentioned this. I mean, I think exchanging queens, as I said, there's nothing wrong with this. Bishop H3. I manoeuvre my mooks to the G file. I keep a lot of pressure. I even have the move F6 later on. This seems much better for White here. But the other option is, after this move, just to go Queen G4. And then with the same idea, Rook G1. I think it's a very good, very good observation that as soon as you allow Black to take on G6, this has made White's position a lot worse, because you've blocked the G file. What is your pawn doing on G6? Nothing.
Let's just come back to the current position, because what's happening now? Why did he give up this pawn with F6?
Maybe it's just to try and free the bishop. Maybe he was so worried that positionally, if he didn't sacrifice a pawn, positionally things are going to be bad. You know, he realised his position is in danger. And at least this way, has he got some tricks now, maybe of g7 as he's played, for example, and this bishop might be able to get in because there's a lot of black pawns on white squares.
I'm wondering, does black want to play knight f2 or does he want to keep this knight?
Well, one way you could try to play this, if it works, is knight f2, swap that bishop off, and then go rook e7. Just try to, you know, this is probably the first thought I'd have. Just keep things simple and try to take that pawn.
He's played rook e7 immediately. Now knight f2
is still in the air. It's a big threat, I guess, yeah. And rook e7 just looks like the best move, I would have thought. And I think...
I'm not sure where exactly, but I don't like the way this has gone for Arian at all here. So bishop f5 on the board.
Well, I don't think there's any rush here for black to do anything. You don't need to take on g7 straight away because of bishop e6 check. Maybe e4 is... Once you take, you will be 2 pawns up. You just need to... well, I mean, if I take here, I allow bishop e6 check, and I'm not sure I like this because you've lost...
And he has taken.
Okay, I'm not sure if he needed to do that straight away, but maybe he had faith that this position is still very good for him. He is... You're right, though. He is a pawn up here, but I thought that maybe there's a more subtle way of doing this.
I also thought he had time to do this, because now e4 is attacked... b7 is attacked.
Yeah. You've always got knight f2 for the time being, so you could probably keep your extra pawn by playing b6. But if we just go back there, Fiona, I'm really not sure why we took... Oh, because bishop h7 was a threat. I see. You had to take that pawn. Okay. There's a nasty threat here. If I tried... I said that you got all the time in the world. Well, if I did... Oh, my words. Okay, that was my first big blunder of the day. Checkmate in 2. I'm sure there'd be more to come. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh, how did I miss that one? And so you
luckily we're just the commentators, so...
Luckily we're not playing today, hey? So, yeah, it's a bit harder commentating. That's my excuse. So, okay, but black's got this extra pawn. Is it enough to win? His king's quickly coming into the centre with f5 and king e5. So, still good chances for Gupta here, Fiona. So.
Wait, apparently someone is saying there was a knight f2 mate at some point. Did we miss that?
Did we miss knight f2 mate? I very much doubt it. Where did we miss knight f2 mate? Did we miss? How could we miss knight f2 mate?
No, there was no. It was a check.
It was a check. Bishop e6 was a check. Yeah, there was no mate there. No, because it was a check. They're just trying to scare us again.
We could miss it, but it would be very unlikely these guys would miss a mate in one. So
it's very likely I'd miss a mate in one, but these guys, it's a different story altogether. So yeah. Okay, so a5, and are there any other games going on in this one so far?
All the games are still, even Magnus is still going.
Should we pop over to another one?
Let's pop over to Magnus. Magnus is now a pawn up, but I don't like the look of the black pieces, I have to say.
Okay, so we might as well take it from where we were. Magnus playing bishop a3. Idea of getting the bishop into d6. Black has these horribly weak pawns. Means white should have an advantage. He does get his bishop into d6, and now, well, he goes to try and win the exchange here, but he does win the exchange. Okay, fair enough. I wonder if that's correct, because his bishop was very strong, should be good anyway, and he wins a pawn as well. This is looking very good for Magnus at the moment in time. It looks like he's just isn't he exchange up here? And okay, he gives the exchange back to simplify the position, and that makes perfect sense. Good idea. When you're material up, give a little bit of material back, make things easier to get the initiative as well. And his bishop on d5, fantastic piece in the centre of the board, aiming at every area of the board. Black's rook is looking like a donkey. I don't know what donkeys look like, but that's what they look like. It looks like a donkey. That's an English expression. He looks like a donkey. Have you heard that one?
I haven't.
I don't know what's wrong with donkeys. I like donkeys. I like donkeys, but apparently...
I was just busy with a little fun of my own, because I always like to bring up all the games, and I think it's the first time since we're commentating. Right now, all 8 games are going on simultaneously, so I was just very chuffed with myself having 8 ongoing games on the side. Yeah. There you go, each to their own.
Yeah. Yeah, so... Cool, the easiest things amuse you, Fiona. I get amused by donkeys, and you get amused by 8 games of chess. We do something wrong with our lives?
Possibly.
I don't know. But yeah, I think that is an English expression. He's playing football like a donkey, whatever that means. But I thought, donkeys could kick balls quite far. But anyway, back to the game. You didn't claw me back in quick enough there. So, King G7, F4. It is a donkey. It's a donkey. Look at that donkey. Rook G4. It's all there. Queen C3 check. And now Magnus starts to come up with some rather nasty threats. I mean, if the rook's a donkey, the bishop is, I would say, a rather baby donkey. What's a baby donkey called? A fowl? No, that's a horse. What's a baby donkey called, Fiona?
I don't know. English isn't my mother tongue. So
no.
I think I just tried to get you back on track instead.
But the thing is, I've never had to think what a small donkey is called. So I have now. I've created occasion to think what a small donkey is. Okay, Queen D8, Rook B7. This must be very good for Magnus.
King F6.
King F2. There was a nasty trick there, just to point out, you always have to watch out for your opponent's possibilities. And if you rushed into going Rook takes F7 here, then Queen B6 check. Well, it turns the tables because you only have one square for your king, and after King H1, well, the little donkey becomes a masterful ninja, whatever that means. And instead, Magnus is just bringing his king to avoid those checks, and this must be game over.
By the way, Simon, just to put your mind to rest, base 6, so thanks base 6 for that, says Google says a baby donkey is a foal indeed.
A foal, I got it right. God, you just get in there. It's the happiest I've been all day that I know what a little donkey is called. I thought it was, yeah. Good stuff. I know my donkeys. And, well, I'm assuming this is just winning. Even Rook takes F7 here probably is going to do the job. It does.
He did play Rook takes F7. So taking on H3, but it just doesn't seem like there will be much of a follow-up here. Well,
I think his one try is Rook takes G3 if King F3. But this move avoids all checks. Eventually, I don't think you're going to get through. The bishop defends this pawn. The queen defends anyway for the black queen in. A very nice game from Magnus Carlsen there, Fiona.
Very nice. Yeah. I'm surprised Salem even made it up to here to move 37 because it was just a crushing display from the start by Magnus. And I think it's going to be the first of my 8 games on the site to finish. So increasing Norway's lead to 5.5, 3.5 once Magnus wins, which isn't the case yet. But I think we might even see resignation here.
Does that bring a tear to your heart now one of the games is over?
Yes. Only 7 more games of chess to look at.
And can we see any more donkeys? Let's see. I mean, the rook, that rook is just absolutely disastrous, isn't it? The rook on G4. But I mean, it's game over. The queen is threatening checkmate. Black's rook totally out of the game, and this is going to be over very quickly. So where shall we go, sweet Fiona?
Let's quickly check in with Ariantari against Abhijit Gupta, and then just as I speak. Salem Saleh did resign.
Okay.
So let's go to Ariantari, who's trying to defend this ending. I'm not sure if he's going to be successful or not. He's still a pawn down.
Yeah, certainly. And he just played D3 here.
And also just saying, he's not just a pawn down, he's also 5 minutes down on the clock. He's down to 46 seconds, so another aggravating factor.
I think this is very important, isn't it? As we said, because both of these players have similar rating, and if Delhi Dynamites want to have a chance, this is the 3rd round of 4. There's only 2 points in it, but if they can get a win with Black here, then I do think they're still in with a chance in the last round. We saw this happen last week. Lots of surprising results. I mean, the one you could say good or bad.
Just one last funny fact about the Magnus game is someone in the chat, Marie Kex, just informed us that John Ludwig Hammer is one of the top guessers in Magnus game. So John Ludwig Hammer, who's not playing today, but he's the captain of the Norway Gnomes. Good to have him play guest move.
That's quite funny. In Chess.com now, if you don't know what this is, you can follow the games live if you're a member of Chess.com, which, you know, is worth doing, and you can guess the move, the next move. That's very funny that, you know, his second, who probably knows him better than anyone, guessed the right moves there. So yeah, and well, Hammer played. He's a great addition to the team. So what we're waiting for now, I think, is black to try to break through. I'm thinking, is the knight coming into this square to c3? That's one plan I would like to try get in. I'd like to get my knight into c3, because if I get it there, I'm hitting the pawn on a2. But it's still, Arion is putting up a hard defense here, Fiona.
Yeah, but I think Abhijit is going to win, if only for the time situation. I think to defend, I mean, I'm not even sure if the position is defendable in the first place.
I think it's probably losing. Yeah.
Is it defendable or defensible? What's the word?
I think defendable is probably, yeah. I mean, I think you can use both. Yeah.
I'm not sure it is defendable in the first place, but with 23 seconds on the clock, it just seems too big of a task to me.
Yeah. I totally agree with you, Fiona, and I don't think there's enough time. And now that Gupta has improved his position yet again, and if he wants to, he can push it to this square and he gets connected past pawn. But the one danger I think Gupta has of not winning this game is if somehow white keeps his blockade, because in order to win endings, you often need to get your king in behind your enemy's forces. And in this position, all the white pawns, as you can see, they defend all the squares that the black king might want to get in on. So there's still some chances here, because infiltration for the black king at the moment is impossible, and I think to win you might have to get around the back somehow, you know. But c4, I think this should be winning, because the pawn on a2 is also weak and there's a lot of things going on here. Are we going to see a bishop e2 check? Okay, so he's keeping the king out again with this bishop move. Still not, you know, still a lot of work to do here. A lot of work to do here. There's still chances.
We were talking about the score in this match, and perpetual stalemate in the pointed out something which we've told you earlier, is that Delhi has draw odds, but they're currently trailing by 2 points. So 8-8 would get them through, but it's still a big ask to get to those 8 points.
Yeah. So, okay, so knight to a3 check. And how is he going to break through here? This is just what I'm wondering. Well, he's manoeuvring his knight now the other way, but where is he doing it? He hasn't really proven to me he's winning this position yet. And, well, we've been told by James Coleman, I'm just seeing, who is a strong English player, that you can try to bring the knight to c3. C4, sorry. Could you even gone a4 check and played it then? That would have been very weird way to try and win. I don't think so, but maybe.
And being asked by Grandmaster Dinesh Boros, who thinks that this game that Abhijit Gupta will win, and he wants to know how the other games are going. So do you want to quickly have a look at another game? Sure,
let's go there. I think also Gupta will win this one. And give me
the young player who almost beat Magnus Carlsen in round 1, Aradia Garg, who's playing against Johann Sebastian Christiansen.
Not this one. Sorry, you have to remind me of the actual players' names if you can.
Aradia 2000 against GS Prep.
Got it. Okay, brilliant. So
the other game, the game between Sahaj Grover and Johannes Haug, is a queen ending 4-4, which again I think should be a draw.
Someone seems to have run out of pieces here, Fiona. I mean, I've got no idea why white is playing on here. And you know why he's losing? Because he hasn't pushed h4. He pushed it in the other 2 games.
I mean, if you see the pawn on g6, what is the pawn still doing on h2?
Exactly. As soon as you see that, you lob Harry up the board. And come on, Harry, can he still get h4 in? h3, it's a mouse slip. Oh, he's God. If he hasn't gone h4 and he's playing this position on, I'm kind of losing a bit of respect for this kid. Sometimes resigns is quite a good option in positions where you are playing a strong player who has a lot of time and you have no chances. This is just I can't watch this anymore. It's too painful for the young Indian.
So let's check out the queen ending. Just get your confirmation that this is a draw. So this is Sahaj Grover against Johannes Haug.
Okay, we'll go over there now. So it looks like from that last game, the Norway are going to get another point, but maybe Delhi Dynamite's going to get a point as well. So they're still keeping a 2-point lead, depending on the result of this game.
And Greg Shahadi was saying in the chat that he's predicting a 7-5 score after this round.
Okay, that looks quite likely. I would imagine here that this is... well, look at the time. The problem here, Fiona, you know, the player, the black pieces, is very short a time. And maybe he's slightly worse here. Slightly worse. Because his pawns over here can't defend each other. They're separated. So there might be a chance of white to attack these pawns. I mean, of course, it should be a draw. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But with this time, we should maybe stick with this one, Fiona, because both sides now going under 20 seconds here. So,
and meanwhile, young Aradia has resigned, so Norway now taking a 6.5, 3.5 lead.
Yeah, I think Grover will win this one. Just what's he doing? Is he falling asleep or something? Maybe he's so bored of the position, he's like, oh, Queen Endings.
Is he losing? What's he doing?
I don't know. Are these Indians playing from the same place on a bus or something?
What's
going on? Oh, that is painful. This is what happened to the other young Indian. Yeah. Maybe they are playing on a bus, you know,
I'm not sure
on their iPhones. Oh dear,
this is incredible, losing 2 games on time when such a tense match, such an important match. So
it's unforgivable, really. I mean, you know, we do get problems with internets, don't we, Fiona, occasionally, and maybe that's happened to both the Indian players. But you know, it's good to see Ben Feingold's you know, predictions are going well there. As soon as he said as soon as he said black will lose, white lost. I like that one, but of course we can let him off there because it was a disconnection thing. But stuff like that makes a massive difference, and that's the whole point. The Norway Gnomes should be safe winning the match now, Fiona, shouldn't they? I would have thought
they should be. Yeah, I mean they're now going to take so. They only need 1 more point out of the last 4 games.
Yeah, it's got to be done. Yeah, easy.
Ariane is still fighting, but I mean, if Ariane holds, then Norway are through already with a round to go. A round to go.
Is the winning score 8 or is it 8.5?
Yeah, sorry. 8.5 they need. My mistake.
Okay, so just to let everyone know. If it's a draw, 8 all, Delhi Dynamite go through. So the winning score for Delhi Dynamite and the Budapest Gambits is 8. And I think it's funny to see, Fiona, that the 2 teams who finished top of the league, the Delhi Dynamites and the Budapest Gambits, who got their entry into the next round, they didn't have to fight last week. They're actually really struggling today, and they're both going to lose. So maybe having this extra game, Fiona, has helped both Norway and Gorky to get into the competitive spirit, don't you think? I mean, I think it might well have helped them a lot.
Maybe, yeah. And also, but I mean, also so much happened in the pre-playoff phase. And by the way, just as we speak, Abhijit Gupta has won his game. So and Norway will need 1 point out of the last 4 games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, still the main thing would be to see Gorky Stormbringers go through, because this has been such an incredible story. Even, I mean, I said they're the only team today playing without a GM, but even throughout the whole season, they've only ever had 1 GM at most, Evgeny Shaposhnikov. So, yeah, I'm a massive fan of the Gorky Stormbringers.
Sure. I mean, before we go there, I mean, people are just pointing out there was a lovely finish to this game, and I think we should show it because you know, Arian was defending quite, you know, admirably here, but Gupta is a brilliant player and he finished this game off very nicely. He found a lovely tactic here. There's probably a couple of ways he can do this now, because the white king is in the wrong area of the board, but he goes b3, and this looks like, oh, this should be winning somehow, because it's a nice little tactic. If you take on b3, then there is a2, and of course this wins. And after king takes here, it may look like, you know, white is safe, because if you go b2, you got bishop b1 here, and you're holding on here. This is not so bad, but this knight c2 check is a really beautiful way to win. That's a really nice finish, because of course if the bishop takes, you queen your b pawn, and Bertie the b pawn becomes Berolina. So yeah,
And
good stuff.
Simon, I have found a game which I think will get you and I both really excited, and that is the game between Attila Vertetix and Mikhail Gorozhanin.
Right, let's go straight over there. And wow, a lot of action going on here, Fiona. Definitely. It's clear that Budapest need to get some wins going, isn't it, Fiona? If they got any chance in this match, and a sharp position like this.
So let's just remind you see the standings as usual above our heads. The Gorky Stormbringers leading 5.5, 2.5, despite being outrated by 100 points on average. I mean, that's, the last board of Budapest has as high a rating as the first board of the Gorky Stormbringers.
It's unbelievable.
And yet they lead by 3 points. So they only need 3 more points out of the last 8 games.
Yeah, I mean, very quickly, I mean, if we just have a look, Fiona was just saying that the team composition here, we can see the average rating and the players of the two teams. I mean, I just saw Greg was making a good comment that the top board of the Budapest Gambits, Glodora, is playing very strangely today. He started with 0 out 2, and he's having a bit of a disaster. If your top board has a disaster, your team is in trouble, and I'm afraid this could be doing something, this could be affecting the whole performance. But you're right, Fiona, looking at the standings there and the grade, it's one that the Budapest Gambits should win on paper, but the Gorky Stormbringers have been underdogs throughout the competition, and again they're just proving their worth.
And maybe we should go to Benjamin Gledura, because I think, well, he's threatening mate just now as we speak. I know I told you to go to but let's quickly go to Benjamin Gledura.
What's his name?
Proman 1999 against Ilya Dudukin.
Okay, let me just try to find this. I'm just going to have to, I believe, refresh the page. Sorry, I can't seem to find him.
Okay, so it's Proman P-R-O.
Okay. Oh, yes, he's black, though, yeah? Okay, right.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No worries. Okay, so we can see the game now, Fiona. Yeah, we'll keep up with the current position.
It's going to just be a draw now, I think.
Yeah. But is that the first... This is the last round, isn't it? It is.
No, it's the second last.
The second last, okay. I'm forgetting myself here as well. And this is his first half point out of 3 games, and he's outrated each of his opponents. So...
And I mean, each half point now, and Ilya Dudukin is outrated by almost 200 points, and each half point is taking Gorky Stormbringers closer to their needed 8.5. So not a bad result for Ilya Dudukin at all.
Is it clearly a draw here? I mean, can I go King G1 or G3 and Queen G2? I'm just wondering why it's a draw.
And he has done that, so because I thought because he repeated once, he wouldn't go for it. Yeah, I think maybe White still has excellent winning chances.
I mean, I've got a very good extra pawn here, but the problem is playing G3. I mean, the White King's always going to be very weak. So if I ever try to activate my Queen, then as we see here, it's probably just a draw, as you say, Fiona, because it should be a draw.
I think we will see a draw here. Let's just stick with them, because I think we will see a draw here, and then we can go to that game we were looking at for a second earlier, Mikhail Gorozhanin against Vertetix Attila. Yeah,
it looks like they're gonna call it a day here. Look at the amount of time that the player Benjamin's got with the black pieces. He's not using his time well, is he?
I mean, it's like Greg said, very strange play by Gledura today.
Yeah, I mean, they should have.
And one of those players will have to push the draw button, or we could be here all night.
There you go. Someone pressed it, thank goodness.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So let's go back to Mikhail Gorozhanin, where we still have a fascinating position.
Certainly, and I mean, counter material, it's bizarrely enough equal on material here, but both sides have problems with their king position. I mean, the king on c2, it's under a little bit of fire with the queen, knight, pawn, and potentially bishop coming in. I mean, it seems reasonably okay at the moment, not under too much danger, but the black king, where are you going to put the black king? Does it have to stay in the centre? So, I mean, a snap decision is there should. It seems to me that there should be something for white in this kind of position. I mean, is e6 a move? This is the kind of move I think of straight away, because I'm trying to block the black queen's defense to the f7 pawn. If you go queen takes e6, I go rook e1, and I've opened up a very dangerous line of attack. And another point of playing e6 is I've got the e5 square for my knight, which I didn't have before. And if you take with a pawn on e6, I now have some check here. And again, the point is, if king d7 at all, I have this knight e5 check. So my first kind of thought, he's played e6. Has he? No, he hasn't. Okay.
No, he hasn't. No.
So I'm just wondering. That would be my first, I wouldn't think too long about this. He's played it.
And
he's played e6.
Now played e6. And I think this is really an important game here. I mean, Attila probably has to win to give Budapest some chances to go through here today.
Yeah, I totally agree. The player of the white side has to do the business here. He's got a bit of an attack, and he has to win with this attack. Have any chances? Looking at the score, they're a whole 3 points down, Fiona. So they've got to do the job here.
So let's quickly check in with another game here, and that is Anton Yatsenko, who I just see declined the draw. I'm not sure when the draw was offered, but Anton Yatsenko, who's done phenomenally well all season long. But I think he just missed a small tactical point. So this is Factor SNFS against Gabix 94.
Okay, and the current position here.
And just a second ago, we had this sequence of rook takes e3, rook takes a7.
So let's have a look at that. We had this position here, and black played rook takes e3, white played rook takes a7, and yeah. What was the factor here, Fiona?
Yes, no, sorry, because I tuned into, I hadn't seen that he'd taken a pawn on e3, so I thought maybe just missed rook takes a7. And now I'm not sure. Yeah, so black is just a pawn up. Do you think it will be enough
to win? I expect it should be a draw quite easily here, because there's so little pawns on the board. I mean, the rule of thumb here is if you've got pawns all on the same side of the board and both sides have a rook and the knight is a pawn up, you need a couple more pawns. You need 4 versus 3, I think I was taught. 2 versus 1 should certainly not be enough to draw, because when you, I mean, for example, if you ever swap the g pawn for the f pawn, you're only left with 1 pawn, your f5 pawn, and then all white has to do is sacrifice his bishop for that pawn, leaving, for example, rook versus rook and knight. And rook versus rook and knight is a pretty simple draw. It's quite easy to draw that one. So it should, of course, be a draw. Maybe black's best chance is to somehow go for an exchange, of knight for bishop. And he can play on, of course. He with a time situation, he might as well play on for as long as he can, but it should be a draw, Fiona. Yeah. And people, I'm aware that Magnus' game has started, but I think because of the standings, as we said earlier, Norway only need 1 point out of the last match, and I'm not sure what I would suggest we stick for a few more minutes with the Gorky Stormbringers, at least to see how they're getting on, because still 3 games are going on in that match. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I mean, this one I think will go on for quite some time. If I was white here, I would literally just try to sit on this position, because the bishop does a great job, because the black knight wants to get into e4, wants to get to h5. But if it does, we can always swap our bishop for a knight, and that is, again, a very easy technical draw. Instead
of this game, let's go to Aqualibrium against Olka, where I think there's a small chance we will get to see bishop and knight against king, but let's go there.
Wow, what's happening here, Fiona? I mean,
yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. I was thinking black would probably push f3. I'll have to give up my bishop. I'll go and take the a7 pawn.
The first thing I'm trying to do with this position, Fiona, is work out which way the pawns are going, because I don't know. I don't know. Is black going that way, or is black going the other way? What's going on? It's like Alice in Wonderland chessboard here. I don't know. Back to front and upside down. So okay. I'm still okay. So black is indeed going that way, and white is going this way. Okay, good. Wow, that's confusing though. That's certainly confusing. So So, sorry, Fiona, you were thinking pawn to c6. No, you can't
I think, well,
at some stage.
I guess black will be able to mate with knight and bishop, although you never know, of course. But yeah, okay, so we see it's just played h4. I thought what was going to happen is that black is going to play f3.
Yeah.
And the question is just, will black be able to take all my pawns? But I suspect he will.
Something like this, then use the knight to take the pawns.
Yeah.
It's very handy, white having this pawn over here, which might look irrelevant because, you know, if white didn't have this pawn, black could easily, you know, congregate all his pieces and slowly take the pawns. But with a pawn on a5, the pawn highlighted, black always needs to leave one of his pieces, either the bishop or the king, probably, to keep an eye on that pawn. So that means he might not be able to take all the white pawns easily enough. I mean, I'm wondering, did he go f3? He played f3. I mean, black is obviously the one pushing for the win here, though. And again, that is very bad news for Budapest, Fiona.
No, the player with the black pieces is the player from Budapest.
Right, okay. Shows you I'm totally confused by this game. So, like, yeah, I wasn't even... Who's black, who's white? Okay, yeah, so that is a good chance.
So he will have to... I mean, I think he has to win this game to keep Budapest in the fight.
Yeah.
And I think we probably should focus for now on this game between Attila Vertetix and Mikhail Gorozhanin, because I still can't make sense from the position on the board. Okay,
so let's go back to that one. And we had... I think we go back to the last position we looked at where e6 was played, and I like this move. It was trying to create the e5 square for the knight and generally just blast the way through to the black king. Black decided to keep the position as closed as possible, try to block out the queen. Knight to f4 now came. Very logical move. You have this square in one case, and now black castles queenside, which it looks safer over there than leaving in the middle of the board. White plays b3, and you know, I kind of like, that's the kind of move I'd be in two minds of playing, Fiona, because I don't like moving pawns around my king unless I have to. And doesn't the move b3 kind of, it gives white something to nibble on? You know, he can get his teeth stuck into that pawn. So I'm not sure I like that move, but we'll see. Queen b4, and the intention of this, I suppose, is to gain control of this square. So it has a point. d5 played.
But, you know, this is the sort of position where I change my mind every move. Every move something happens, and I'm like, oh, I like black, I like white. But I like what black did here to get the c-file. So let's stick with the game, because both players are under a minute now. Well, black a little over a minute, but things are happening fast.
Very clever play, king b8 and rook c8. Yeah. And again, let's imagine I had my pawn back on b2 here. This wouldn't be a problem whatsoever. But the pawn here, we can see free. So I wasn't sure about that move. And now some exchanges are happening, and we're going to get some clarification soon. Well, queen f4, getting rid of the queens, and we enter into this ending where, again, I think actually white's played pretty well here, because swapping the queens is quite good. That, you know, I think the white king was in more danger, and this e-pawn is a very strong unit, maybe, Fiona. But more importantly, you've got two good ideas: rook d7 and knight g6. Are hard moves to deal with here.
What if I play bishop d6? Well, he played d8, but
yeah. If you go bishop d6 here, then I could probably play knight g6, for example, I guess. Something like this.
Yeah.
And
okay, so let's stick with the game, because players are very short on time. So now we have this double rook ending, and the h-pawn looks very dangerous, but will it be enough?
Very interesting. Also, black's rooks are slightly more active at the moment. And
I was just wondering, if I had given a check, then you would have gone king a3. And I was wondering if there was anything there. If I could maybe give a perpetual with rook a6, rook...
I mean, the way black's played this, he's done what you should, you know, try to do in these types of positions. Get his rook behind the passed pawn. That's where normally you want your rook when your opponent has a...
No, you're sorry. I'll let you finish. I was just getting carried away again with the action.
Yeah. So I was just saying, I mean, I think this should be a draw, Fiona, shouldn't it? I mean, like, your rook covers this pawn here quite comfortably. So, I mean, unless something tragic like that happens, it should be a draw. And where did that rook come from? That was a magic rook. And, okay. Well, I've got check here. I can't go rook c6 check, though. Actually, yeah. I mean, what do you do now? That was a bit of a shot from nowhere. Maybe white is just winning here, Fiona. Ooh.
But he has a threat of mate.
Oh, very tactical, yeah?
Players are so short on time.
Yeah.
So what if I go king d1, then... Okay, but now I can just swap rooks, right? And then I'm safe.
Maybe I play for a win with black, though. Rook e2. Why don't I play for a win? Or rook here, yeah. Yeah,
rook e3. So let's just stick with the current position. Yeah, I mean, if black wins this, let's remind you, black is the stormy... the Gorky Stormbringer, not the Stormy.
Stormbringers, yeah.
I think this should be a draw because it looks like both sides have too many threats now that b7 is attacked.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it should be a draw. But in that last position, yeah, I mean, okay, because the h2 pawn's always going to be good enough, and he's going to take the draw here, which it is a good result, isn't it, in match standings for them anyway. So it takes them a little bit closer to the final winning margin.
You know, I'm surprised that in the other game where I said we might end up with knight and bishop, the player with the white pieces resigned. He didn't even try to play.
Oh wow, that is quite surprising here. So
I mean, especially really online. Weird. What's the...
Why resign?
He lost on time, I think. He ran out of time.
Okay. Because there was a famous situation. I mean, knight and bishop versus king is notoriously...
While you tell the story, maybe we should just put the last game of that match for people to see.
Sure.
And that's a game between Gabix94, a.k.a. Garbonagi, and Antoniatsenko.
Which is a very, very easy draw. Just take the rook off. I mean, okay, this is... But yeah, I mean, knight and bishop versus king is very hard to win. And there was a famous case in the Women's World Championships where a female player couldn't actually checkmate with a knight and bishop, which must have been...
And she was a former world champion, so pretty bad.
Very embarrassing. I mean, I wasn't going to mention that. I didn't want to embarrass her there, but like too late there. you got the name in. Let's embarrass her.
I thought I was going to help you out. I thought, maybe he can't recall who it was.
No, I couldn't pronounce the name, so that was more to the point. But yeah, that was really embarrassing. Imagine you're world champion. You can't checkmate with knight and bishop. Could you think you could, Fiona? I mean, I don't know. In some positions I can,
it's
but
funny
it's not.
It's funny. I always thought. Maybe I couldn't, but I was in Amsterdam with my best friends last weekend, and we went to a chess cafe, and there was a chessboard, and we were just having a drink. And I thought, well, now's the time to find out. So I put my king in the corner, and I played this against my best friend, who's an IM, and I managed to mate him. So that was quite a big relief.
Good stuff. So you avoided any embarrassment there, yeah? Okay, well, people have been asking for
Magnus.
For Magnus, yeah. So I've got that position up now. Someone's actually saying they learned how to checkmate with knight and bishop from myself, and I actually on my YouTube channel I do a video. I do a video on how to checkmate with knight and bishop. So if you do want to learn, pop over to my YouTube channel. You may even learn something, you know, which will be a bit of a surprise. But what's happening in this game? It seems to me that it's probably... Well, the bishop on h4, I just realised, what's that bishop doing there? It's a horrible piece. Should be about even, I guess, here. I mean, I'm assuming roughly even here. Because if you take on e2 now, is there a rook e1 move, something like that? So something along those lines. He's gone for it. So Magnus has grabbed this extra pawn. I mean, one of Magnus's main strengths. Well, he's basically got too many strengths to mention. He's good at everything. But something that always amazes me, which I can't do, is his defensive powers. If his opponent gets an initiative, if his opponent gets a very dangerous looking position, he defends like a computer. He's incredibly good at defending. And he's come up with a very interesting idea here to give back the pawn, because of course Gupta can take on e6, but he wants to get to an ending where this bishop is going to be left on its horrible square versus the knight on c6. So he wants to exchange off all pieces. So maybe here, for example, rook e6. Let's just give an example of this where everything gets swapped off, and this ending would be winning for Magnus because of the queenside majority. But mainly he's going to win the pawn on a5, be left with 3 pawns versus 1. So I think this is his idea, to try and swap everything off and get to an ending like that. And he's played rook e8, Fiona. I think Magnus will win this one, and they only need half a point now as well, the Norway Gnomes, to win the match.
They need 1 point. They need to get to 8.5. But if Magnus wins, that will be another 4-0 from Magnus, and that will take Norway through to the quarterfinals.
Okay, and they're up to 8 points now already, actually, Fiona. So
sorry. Yeah. There was a draw on board 4 between Johannes Haug and Aradia Garg.
And to talk about the Gorky Stormbringers, because their last round will be starting quite soon. They need, from the last round, they need 1.5 out of 4. If they only get 1 out of 4, that means that the Budapest Gambits, for Budapest, they need to get to 8 points. That's the winning score for them. Gorky Stormbringers need to get to 8.5. So that one is still...
Can you bring up the pairings of the last round? Because I'm just looking at them now, and the Gorky Stormbringers will be outrated on every single board. Well, they've been outrated on every single board, I think,
most
all match
long. Yeah. But it's going to be very interesting. I think now it's looking like Norway are safely through. There's no way Magnus is going to lose this position.
Maybe we can have a quick look at Salem Saleh against Ariantari, because Greg is just pointing out that Bishop e7 was an amazing move by Tari.
Sorry, what move?
Bishop g7 by Ariantari.
Okay, so let's have a look. So we had this position here, and now quite a lot going on here. It's black to move, and there's a big idea here that, just to explain to everyone else, bishop on pre here, but if black takes the bishop on b6, white has this idea of just checking, and Harry's done a grand job here of getting all the way to h6, and if the king comes here, white's doing very well because he'd probably queen his h-pawn. So yeah, this is a nice idea. So actually what he did in the game, rather than taking there straight away, he went bishop g7, offering his bishop up to be captured. But if he does capture the bishop, now Harry becomes a lost soldier, because we take on b6, and the main difference is you've maneuvered this pawn to g7. So that's a fantastic idea, actually. I really like that idea. And okay, well, Salem continued with a check. Bishop maneuvers around to f8. Bishop d4. Still a bit of pressure here. There's a big threat of bishop g7. So he has to check, and now he has to avoid this bishop g7. So he goes king f7. And bishop e5 now played. Rook c4. And this is where we're standing to stop the knight coming to e4. I'm wondering...
Yeah, what are you wondering?
I'm just wondering here why White didn't move the knight straight into e4 in that position when he had a chance, because I see that black is taking that pawn, but it still seems like there's a lot of danger with 3 pieces against the king. Okay, sorry Fiona, I was just wondering about that. I was just
going to say that Norway Gnomes captain Grandmaster John Ludwig Hammer has tweeted a minute ago saying, "I sense a Pro Chess MVP award in Magnus Carlsen's future." And indeed, I think Magnus' appearance a few weeks back made a huge difference, because Norway Gnomes were on the brink of getting knocked out. They just about made it to the playoff stages, but now Magnus Carlsen, he's going to go 4-0 2 weeks in a row, and his presence really has made a huge difference.
Yeah, I certainly... Yeah, you're totally right. They were struggling a bit, the Gnomes, until Magnus played, and as soon as the world champion came along, he's really... maybe he's like a motivator, isn't he? This happened in the Chess Olympiad, where Magnus, playing for Norway, was, the highest rated player in the team by quite some margin. But all the players in the team, because Magnus is playing, I think he's a real inspiration. They all outperformed themselves, and they had their best ever Olympiad performance, finishing in the top 10, but even higher than that. I can't remember exactly where they came, but Magnus... 6. Great result, though. And Magnus is great because he really does. He's not just one of these standoffish GMs who doesn't help other people, which I can name loads. GMs that often feel like they're entitled and they don't have to give anything back. But Magnus gives a lot back, doesn't he, Fiona, to his, the chess community.
And there is Harvey Little Spectre saying in the chat he thinks Magnus loves the idea of teams and leagues, and he's not kidding. And yeah, I think indeed Magnus is a very competitive guy, and of course he can. Of course, a lot of the time it's just he himself, but when he is part of the team, I think he gets really into the spirit, not just in chess, also he's a big fan, of course, famously of football and basketball. And yeah, I mean, it's really good to have seen him be that inspiration. Certainly.
And it looks like, okay, well, I mean, we say they're going to win this match. I mean, I think Arian is probably in trouble in this game. It's, he's going to lose. Should we just go back to Magnus? Because
let's go back to Magnus. I mean, all we need is half a point. So Magnus would have to lose, Tari would have to lose, and Johann Sebastian Christiansen would have to lose. So let's go to Magnus for now.
Sure, and Rook D2 played. And the other match has started, the Budapest Gambits versus the Gorky Stormbrings.
I've already opened up all the boards. I'm very happy with my boards on the side again.
Good. You got that happy 7-board feeling. I mean, I think we'll look at that match soon, because in my eyes, this match is over, and the interest goes. Maybe we'll stick to see how Magnus grinds out the win here for a minute or so, because Magnus is still pushing for a win here. But the Norway Gnomes are going through, aren't they?
And by the way, Greg is informing us that whoever Norway play next week, they will have to get to 8.5. So the other team, I'm not sure who the teams are they can face, but the other team will have draws.
I wonder why that is. I wonder why the other team has draw odds. I mean, I'm just interested to know. I haven't read up all the rules in later rounds, but have you any idea why the other team would have draw odds at all, Fiona?
I mean, it must have to do with the tiebreak still of the pre-playoff phase, I'd say.
Okay.
So anyway, let's just wait for Norway to wrap up the match. So all they need is one draw. Or you want to go to Gorky right away?
No, I'm happy to just wait until they get a draw somewhere. I mean, I'm happy to sit with Magnus, because he's not going to lose this game unless he does something horrendously wrong. But we have to remember, last 2 times these players played, Fiona, Magnus did drop his queen, but Gupta didn't see it. So if Magnus does that again, there is still a very outside chance.
And just, of course, Norway will be playing the winner of the other match. I just had a brain freeze there. So, of course, they will play the winner of the other match.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, I think it's very unlikely for Magnus to drop a queen in this game, because he doesn't have a queen on the board. So he should be safe in this one. If he had a queen, I'd be a lot more worried. But... His idea, he's so good in these endings, Magnus. I mean, if you want to learn endings, look at how he does it. And I think this rook wants to come behind his own passed pawn so he can support it, which is basically a very good technique. But of course, laterally, it's doing a good job of attacking the pawns over here. There's a nice little trick coming up, maybe, Fiona. Well, I'm not really sure. Oh, well, okay. This is calculation here, because rook takes g7 is something Magnus has now allowed. Is he just going to queen? Is he just going a2 here? Is this the end of the match? Is he just going to go a2? I think this is coming up to the end. a2 might well be played. There's no way to stop that pawn, is there? Yeah. Well, there's one way. You can check and come to a8. So it's still not quite over. So if you go a2, let's just show that. White can try to get his... Well, he will get his rook behind the pawn. He will check, and he will go rook behind the passed pawn, and there's no way you can block that. So actually, this kind of thing is not so clear. So Magnus having a bit of a think here. Is he going to go rook a4 first? This is the move that I would assume he's been gunning for in order to stop any rook becoming behind the pawn, and just aiming to go a2, a1. That's I would have thought his intention here. Something like this. Rook a4. I mean, rook a4 looks very strong. Unless, I'm saying unless again, now it's White's turn. White can go f6.
Ready.
And if you go here, I go f7 check, and all of a sudden Magnus is losing, probably. I say probably because I'm not even sure, because king f8 bishop c5 check. Whoa! But now knight e7, and what's happening here?
Yeah, I think Magnus is taking his free time here to figure everything out, because he survived one scare against Abhijit, but better figure everything out here before you play a move.
Yeah, I mean, this line here looks like it's winning for Magnus, unless I'm missing some tactic. He's not allowing that f-pawn to queen in this particular variation. So I think you're right, Fiona. Why rush when you can take your time? But there is a chance here, because he's making a little bit of mistakes. I feel, you know, he's given up a pawn. Maybe Gupta can pull out. Okay, he's gone a2. He's gone a2. So White gets his rook behind a pawn. Well, maybe knight b4 and rook c1 is the next idea. Obviously, you'd like to go rook c1 and queen, but you lose your pawn. So maybe after this rook a8, he's going to go knight b4 now, with the simple idea of just going rook c1 and then queening, because the knight defends the pawn. This is a possibility. Or will he decide, okay, look, for the team, I'm going to start taking a draw. And if he goes rook takes g4, this might be a way to just really guarantee a draw in the match, you know. Get rid of all the white pawns.
I think that is the right decision, and I respect Magnus for that, because I thought maybe he would try to go, well, maybe it's also just the best move in the position, but he will drop his a2 pawn, and should probably be a draw, I guess. And I think I think it's good to see Magnus do this for the team.
It's probably a draw now, probably, but you know, I still, I mean, with moves like
you never know with Magnus.
You never know, and he's got moves like rook g2 here, a little tricky move to maybe guarantee a draw. For example, rook takes a2, and now we swap everything off with knight g4, king f3. We make mass exchanges here, and we take the f pawn.
Simon, Aryan Tari has beaten Salem Saleh.
Yes. Oh wow.
Taking the score 2-9, 9-5 for Norway, wrapping things up.
They're through. He's been a great player today, Aryan Tari. Yeah. I mean, he's been one of the... we always just talk about Magnus because he's world champion, but we've got to remember the other players in the team. And they got all their team is very, very dangerous and good players. And Aryan Tari today has really been one of the main... I think one of the main guys, even maybe more than Magnus, who's had some shaky moments today. Aryan Tari's, you know, defeated players higher rated than him. So I think, great result.
Absolutely. So I suggest we now focus on the other match between Gorky and Budapest, and I'll keep an eye on Magnus and keep you informed, but we think that should be a draw. And I would like to go to the top clash in that other match, and that is Benjamin Gledura against Asad Sharafiev.
So what are the names of those players?
It is Aqua Libre, Proman 1999 with the white pieces against Aqua Libre.
Got it, yeah. And we'll just go to the current positions here because, again, very tense match. The Gorky Stormbringers in this last round of 4 games only need 1.5 out of 4. But that's still quite a long way when you're so close. And in this position, Benjamin, who's not been having a great time, has sacrificed or lost a piece. Which one is it? I don't know. Is it a sacrifice or has he lost it?
What happened? I hope for him he sacrificed it, but he has 2 pawns. He has some sort of attack.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it should be enough.
Yeah,
it doesn't look like it should be enough.
I mean, if Benjamin Gledura loses this game with the white pieces, I would say Gorky almost true.
Yeah. And Queen h6, and this is a nice way to try get rid of the weak bishop on b7. I mean, you know, Black can always move his queen to g7 here just to plug up his king side and get rid of that annoying white queen. And if he goes queen g7, I don't see any dangers to the Black king. Black is certainly better here in this game. This game not looking good for the Budapest Gambits at all. Unless there's some nasty tactic that White might be able to sneak into the game. Should we move over to another one?
Let's move over. Where do you want to go? I'm the one who has all the games open, but
I don't mind. We might as well go through them all one by one, I guess.
Okay, so let's go to board 2, and that is Oliver Mihok against Ilya Dudukin.
And again, let's stick with the current positions. This is quite a closed structure here. No pawns have been exchanged in this position, so obviously that means probably violence. Well, violence later on is going to occur here. Seems fairly even, this structure. Black's got the E4 square for his pieces. White has the F4 square for his knight. Black shouldn't be worse. I wouldn't have thought so in this position here.
And by the way, just to let you know, Magnus Carlsen has drawn his game.
Okay. So, Queen B6. And again, let's move on, because at the moment, this one is even, and we're going to get more action there. So let's go to the other two boards in this match.
Board 3 is with the white pieces, Mikhail Gorozhanin against Gabix 94, aka Gabonagi.
Wow, look at that. Some weird things going on here. And counting the material, it's actually even.
Yeah.
In these positions, though, the two minor pieces should be pretty good, especially when your opponent has a bishop on h2, which is biting on granite.
If only we could do something with that bishop, but playing bishop g3, bishop h4, well, I was going to suggest that, but it still seems quite slow. But yeah, I don't think this is so clear.
Any result I'd say possible still in this game. I would take black at the moment if I can get my pieces coordinating with black. Let's say I go king g7, try to maneuver them out somehow. I like black's position. Don't like the bishop on g3. That's a dead piece. Yeah. So I think black, there's still chances so far for the Budapest Gambits, I'd say. There's this round could come right to the wire.
Yeah. So but very strange. Mikhail Gorozhanin declined the draw, it says.
In what game?
The game we were just looking at. So the player with the white pieces declined the draw, who has a work against the two minor pieces.
Right.
Wow.
Really? I didn't see the draw offer there. Okay.
Well, I didn't see draw offer, but it says Mikhail Gorozhanin declined the draw, which to me is a big surprise. I'm not sure when the draw offer occurred. But anyway, there we go. Shall we bring up the last game?
Sure.
So the last game is Anton Yatsenko, a.k.a. Factor SNFS, against Attila Vertitix.
This is a very, very pleasant position for white. I mean, this is a non-tactical position. There's no crazy open lines or many tactics going on. It's all to do with the pawn structure here. And if you look at the pawn structure, this pawn structure greatly favours white because of this weak c6 pawn. White has an open file to attack that pawn. And the important thing here is that pawn can't be defended by a black pawn. But if you look the other way around, the same thing. Well, black has an open b file, and it may look like he's attacking b2. But as soon as white goes b3, that pawn will be supported. So, I mean, this is just one of those sort of positional things, and pawn structures are so important. If you want to get better at chess, you should really get to understand different pawn structures, what pawn structures are good and bad. And here, I mean, it might not be terrible for black. If he can get c5 in, for example, he'll get rid of his weakness. But that's quite hard to achieve here. White can reroute his bishop, and even the a6 pawn is another potential long-term weakness. So I certainly take white here, but black may be able to hold on to this one.
Yeah. And Simon, I just want to make a final point about the Norway against Delhi match, because Sahaj Grover has won the last remaining game against Johann Sebastian Christiansen. And that means the final score is 9.5 to 6.5 to Norway Gnomes. So congratulations to them for going through. But someone rightly pointed out in the chat that Delhi Dynamite lost 1.5 points because of their time losses. So had they not lost those two games on time, the score would have been 8-8, and they would have gone through.
Well, it's a very good point, actually. Yeah, I mean, if they just paid their internet provider before the match, they would have they would have maybe, and also they would have got famous victory. The young chap who played against Magnus Carlsen. I mean, Magnus would have lost the game there if their internet connection was right. So it just shows you how these outside factors can do things. It might not have been the internet. It might have just been a moment of madness. They might have forgotten about the clocks. Who knows? So.
But Greg is saying the one game they lost was going to be a draw. Yeah, but Magnus won when he should have lost. So
yeah, it's a difference of 1.5 points, isn't it?
It could have been 8-8, unless my maths are failing me completely.
I agree. I think 8-8 they would have gone through. So it's something where, I mean, again, I've seen this happen in competitions away from the internet, where one player gets shorter time and they just totally forget about the clock. They're so engrossed in the position they don't look at the clock. I've always found on internet chess the clock's much more visual, so it's harder to forget about it, but it can still occur. So it's possible. Anyway,
we still have a very exciting match on our hands. So as we said, congratulations to Norway. Pity to see Delhi go, but it's of course good to still have world champion Magnus and his fantastic teammates in the competition. So which game should... Oh, let's go to the top, back to the top board between Benjamin Gledura and Azad Jarfiev, because a lot of pieces have come off the board, and Black is now simply a piece up in the ending, and I'm not sure if it's winning, should be winning, but at least there's no way he can ever lose this.
Famous last words. So yeah, but I agree. You certainly shouldn't lose this, and White's only got 2 pawns for the bishop. The bishop's not greatly placed, it's just doing a defensive role. But I think this A4 move we saw from Black was very clever, because he's now getting his rook in the board. But I think, his drawing chance of C3 being played. White wants to just exchange off a lot of pawns here, because rook and bishop versus rook should be a draw. So I think there's chances White can hold this.
And in this game as well, Benjamin Gledura offered a draw. So, I mean,
really? That's very cheeky.
That's very cheeky. Yeah. And but also, Gorky Stormbringers, they could have already had 1 point secure, and they would just need half more. Yeah. But I still think we will see Gorky go through. It would take a lot of upsets here for Budapest to make a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, very quickly at the moment, I'm just going to go through each board and just spend 10 seconds on each board so we can work out what the score should be. So here, we're either going for a point or half a point to Gorky. So let's say Gorky only get half a point here. They shouldn't lose this game. Next board, okay, this is an incredibly closed position. And here, because it's so closed, it should be a draw. So that means already Gorky only need a half a point for the next 2 games. So we now go over to this one. Gorky with the white pieces, if they draw this one, they should be guaranteed. What is happening here? This is a bit harder to work out. C4 being played, and that is an incredibly clever move. I think Gorky will win this one, because that's really clever, because you can't take with a bishop, and if you take with a queen, then rook takes d7 and white goes and exchange up. So this game here could be the defining moment. I think Gorky are going through, Fiona, unless something ridiculous happens in this match. Must be going through.
This game we just have on the board. So between you're on the game between Gorojan and Nagy.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the way this is. Oh, so he took with the queen.
It's losing. Yeah, it's completely lost. I mean, we don't even need to look at the last game to know that Gorky are going through, because White is an exchange and a pawn up, and the Black King is a little bit weak. I mean, you don't need more than that. Okay, but we will go to the last game just to see. And here, the last game here, well, again, it seems to me that only White should be better here. Even though White's got these double pawns, his pieces control so many squares. He's got his rooks on the open file. His knight does a good job. And Black is getting to a position where he can't really move. Maybe Black can try to play C. If Black can arrange C5, structurally he might be better. What's going on with the Diamond membership as well, Fiona? Have you got any favourites to win it this week?
Well, in fact, I have already decided.
Oh, you've already decided? Okay. So do I get my Diamond membership at last? Oh, I haven't been in the chat, have I? So how do people win the Diamond membership, Fiona? Shall we remind everyone?
There is someone, I won't announce his name until the last game is over, but he's been with us all day. And it's been great. But I mean, again, there have been so many people in the chat. So thank you to each and every one of you. And I will announce the winner after the last game has concluded.
And this goes, it's Diamond membership for a month, so you get all the Chess.com perks. And this is for the chat in the Chess.com TV chat. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. We should remind everyone, you know, we're stopping as soon as this match has been confirmed over pretty much. So any second now.
And Simon, I have to interrupt you again, sorry. Just to say that Mikhail Gorojanin has just won his game. Not surprisingly, he was a rook up or piece up or whatever. So Gorky just need half a point now.
Sure, and they're going to get it from the free games. They're not worse in any of the other free games, so they're definitely going to go through. A fantastic performance from the Gorky Stormbringers again. Let me just remind you, you know, we bring up the team list now. And before the match, look at the rating difference. The Budapest Gambits outrating their opponent by 100 points. But the Gorky Stormbringers have just really cruised through yet again. And they're the underdog, the only team from... Yeah.
I'm so sorry, but a draw has been agreed in Oliver Mihok against Ilya Dedukin.
Okay, so they've done it.
They've done it.
Okay, do you want to tell everyone what's going on after this then, Fiona, after we finish?
Yeah, so after we finish, the Central Division is coming up with Lawrence Trent and Anna Rudolph. And I was saying earlier that today is an incredible night of Pro Chess League because 5 of the top 6 players in the world are playing. So we had world champion Magnus Carlsen. Then later on tonight we'll have the American powerhouse with Fabiano Caruana, with Wesley So, and of course with Hikaru Nakamura. But in the next division we will have MVL, the French top player, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. He will be playing for the Marseille Migrants against the London Lions. And then we also have Simon and our favorites, the London Towers. Well, we're a bit biased. They're like our friends. Our friends, the London Towers, playing against the Stockholm Snowballs. So 2 very exciting matches coming up, as I said, commentated by Lawrence Trent and Anna Rudolph. So don't go anywhere. And those games are starting, I think, already in 20 minutes. So just grab yourself a Coke, a beer, a glass of wine, make yourself comfortable, and you'll witness a lot more good and exciting chess.
Certainly. I mean... Working out how much more commentary you've got about another 10 hours after we finish, and we'll be finishing any minute now. But literally 10 more hours of this league with various commentators going on, and you've got the American division later on and stuff. So it should be, it's going to be, it's just a great sort of influx of chess today. And, do you want to stay with the last games, Fiona?
I think we should stick with the last 2 games, and we have Thomas Randall in the chat once again saying that the Lions will kick off first. They will start in 20 minutes against the Marseille Migrants. I mean, I'm French. I should know how to pronounce that word. And then the London Towers will play in 40 minutes against the Stockholm Snowballs. But what I wanted to say is my hearty congratulations to the Gorky Stormbringers. I mean, they were outrated by 100 points. I mean, I've said this about 10 times tonight, but I don't get tired of repeating it again and again. They were outrated by 100 points on average. They didn't even have draws, meaning they needed to win the match. And they have done so with 2 games to spare. I mean, it just doesn't cease to amaze me how incredibly they've performed, not just today, but week after week after week. So my hearty congratulations to the Gorky Stormbringers.
Yeah, they've done well. The only team from Russia, and they've proven time and time again they're a very, very strong team. And, you know, we will have a look at the end of the game soon, but I just want to remind everyone how the teams are progressing as well. So, first of all, if we go to the world map, and just bringing up the world map now, we can see all the teams in orange. So all the teams there are the teams me and Fiona are dealing with, and there will only be one. Only one of these teams will come through to the last thing. And well, I have to just say we've got a friend joining us here as well. Oh, you missed the friend, and it's not actually Charlie. It's another cat came in. Hello, so hello, come and say hello. No, okay, he's gone. So he's here, but he's just out of shot. So oh, he's gone again. Okay, anyway, so there's only one team going through from the orange group, and they're going to play the only one team from the green group, and then move over to America. And if we look at what we call the brackets, and this is how the teams are advancing into the middle, and you can see there's one big bracket there with one team at the end. We're dealing with the Eastern Division here in the top left-hand corner, and we can see now in the next stage of this, you've got the Gnomes and the Gorkies who have gone through. The Gnomes are going to outrate the Gorkies by a tremendous amount in the next round. 200
points on average, I suspect. But I guess, I'm not sure why Yevgeny Shaposhnikov wasn't playing today and last week, but I hope and suspect he will make a comeback next week.
That's right. And this is, this is the quarterfinals. So we have a cat's just come in and said hello as well. Looking very intrigued what's going on. But this is the quarterfinals of, well, is it the quarterfinals now? Let me get this right. So the money rounds.
Yeah, next week is the quarterfinals.
Next week's the quarters. So looking at the prizes, you know, there's the semi-finals. So the next week's a really important round for everyone because that is the money round. If you win next week, you're in the money. So you're guaranteed some cash, which I think is, you know, a big thing. Then is you're going to be more nervous as you go along. And you can see I've got loads of. I just run down to my basement there, run into my garage. And let me just quickly, because I've got this prepared. I know I'm going off track now. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Where am I? I've just run into my outside wall now. I'm in the back garden now. I love my green screen, Fiona. So do you want to pull me back on track, or can I just talk rubbish?
Yeah, let's go back on track. Although I do like your cave, as wrong as that sounds.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick look at the last two games. I think Gorky Stormbringers, they've done so well. They deserve to have their games shown until the end. But as we said, Lawrence and Anna will be with you as soon as we are done here, so don't go anywhere. Let's quickly go to Benjamin Gladura, who's had a night to forget, the young Hungarian grandmaster. And it looks like he's going to have to, the night isn't going to end in a nice way for him, because I think he might have to defend rook against rook and bishop here, unless he can defend his pawn, but I doubt.
Yeah, and we can see they got to, yeah. I mean, of course, this is a technical draw, rook and bishop versus rook, but it is really hard to draw. I mean, the last time I had this, I had it actually in a blitz game against Mickey Adams in the Isle of Man, and I had the bishop and rook, and I actually managed to win that one somehow. And it's really hard to draw, so you have to know the technique here. And the weird technique is some stalemate technique. And when your king gets forced to the back rank, which it often does, you keep your rook one file in front of your king. This is the drawing technique, but it's really, really hard to draw. So guaranteed half point here for the Gorky. Another half point, Fiona.
There's a very interesting comment in the chat from Rocky KO2 saying Gladura is this week's Kovalenko, which is quite a good analogy, because Kovalenko was last week's top board for the Riga Magicians against the same team, the Gorky Stormbringers, and he had a similar nightmare to Gladura. So a very interesting point there.
Yeah, he did. He lost a couple of games in time, did Kovalenko last time. Maybe it's a good time to tell. Do you think it's a good time to tell about the Diamond membership now, Fiona?
Yeah,
as we're sort of getting nearer. So
yeah. I said I decided, I made up my mind about 10 minutes ago, because he had been here all night long. And he said earlier, I by coincidence spotted a comment, he's saying he had to submit an assignment for uni tomorrow, but he just couldn't stop watching us. So I think it's a well-deserved 1 month Diamond membership for Harvey Little Spectre, who's been here all night long. So thanks for your support. Thanks for all your comments. And everyone else, keep trying. But thanks to all of you, of course. And I think if only we could give away 2 Diamond memberships, I would love to give the other one to Greg to Greg, because Greg I think he deserves it. He's also been here all night long, providing us with a lot of useful information. And yeah, Greg really deserves the Diamond membership. But unfortunately, there can only be one.
Certainly. And just, keeping on track with this game here, it does seem to me that Benjamin's not playing the best defensive move. Now, what you need to do, which he hasn't got, I said, as soon as your king gets the back rank, it's called the second rank defense. Your rook, imagine the white rook, has to stay on that file. And of course, there he didn't play very well today. He got checkmated. Did he get half a point? That's disastrous, Fiona. Poor guy. Poor guy. He beat Anand recently, and that's no good. That's no good. Yeah. So, no. And is there one more game going on? I think there might be. So we can have a look. And this is the last game here. And, well, maybe Budapest will win this one, Fiona, the last game of this Eastern Division. So yeah, let's stick with that. I mean, it will be over within the minute, I suspect. Yeah. But Gorky Stormbringers, as soon as you see the score just got updated, they're now on 9.5. And they will. Do you think Anton Yeltsenko can hold this? I think it's probably should be losing actually this one. I don't know. Maybe it is a draw actually, but I don't think he will with a time situation. Yeah. I mean, again, it's quite an important factor when you have so little time. And I mean, I think at some point Black should be coming with the king to b4 even, which he might be doing now, or just try to win the e-pawn with his rook. I would probably put my king on b4, try to win that a-pawn, but it might still be a draw, I guess, in some ways. And yeah, there's only one more match in our division left, isn't there, Fiona? Which is going to be, just a reminder, everyone, Norway versus Gorky. Who do you think is going to do? Who do you think is going to win that one, Fiona? Norway or Gorky?
I mean, Norway will be such massive favourites on paper, I think, and I mean they have to be favourites. But I just, after everything I've seen, I wouldn't write Gorky off, and I wish them best of luck. I think you and I, we've had this discussion before. We always like an underdog. So I think it will be a good match, and they will give Norway a run for their money.
Totally agree. I mean, so far it's clear that the Gorky Stormbringers have just had an upset in nearly every round. They're clearly underrated, so they've got
Greg
great chance.
Is getting back at me because I called him Greg Shah, and then my brain froze earlier, and he's reminding everyone in chat that my bracket might go so well, as I stand on 5 out of 14.
Good score. So yeah.
And Ben Feingold is having an even worse disaster on 2 out of 14. So there you go.
Yeah. I just finished with, I see a couple of people keep asking about Title Tuesday. I mean, if I can, if anyone's interested, of course I'm commentating on most of these ones with the lovely Fiona. I'm also going to try to stream for my own channel the Title Tuesday event. That's me playing Blitz for a couple of hours, and I think it's going on every Tuesday of this month. So if you want to watch me do that, tune in. Yesterday, sorry,
I think it's next month where there's one every week.
Okay, well next month I'll try to do that when I'm around, but. Yesterday I did all right. I was seeded about 60. I think I came about 25th. I don't know. Lost to Kamsky in the last round, which was a bit tough when I was doing very well. But another great event that Chess.com do. And well, Fiona, before I hand over to you to sign off, I mean, I'd just like to say, thank you from myself to yourself, Fiona. It's always a pleasure working with you. Always fun. And I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who's arranged this at Chess.com and Greg, who's put a lot of work in. And, of course, everyone in the chat. So thank you, everyone there. And I'll leave you to say the last words, Fiona.
Yeah, well, same. Thanks to you, Simon. It's been a pleasure, as usual. Yes, thanks to everyone in the chat. There's been a lot of action there tonight. So thanks to everyone, not just on Chess.com, but also on Twitch. It's been an absolute pleasure. Two well-deserved winners tonight. All in all, I would say in the Norway Gnomes. Funny that we had the same scores, both teams going through on 9.5, 6.5. So congratulations to the Norway Gnomes. and the Gorky Stormbringers. Once again, thanks to all of you. Thanks to Greg. Thanks to Chess.com. And don't miss that great match next week. And now we'll leave you with Anna Rudolph and Lawrence Trent. So enjoy your chess night, and we'll see you soon.